I love it, Cole. We get to talk ball with coaches all day long. It's our Greenville County High School kickoff show. All day, all Greenville County. The list is long. It is distinguished. We got some long, entrenched head coaches. We got some new head coaches in their first, second, and third seasons at their respective schools. Man, this is going to be a fun day because it means we're now less than a month away from toe and leather meeting.
Yeah, and Diesel scrimmages start next week. It is officially here. I was at Burns High School today for a good part of the morning, and it's here. High school practices began officially fall camp today. You have to go a couple of days in your helmets, right, and then your shoulder pads, and then you can go full pads next week. But high school football season, man, for those from here and that have moved here, I'm sure those are learning that have moved here, but high school football in the upstate of South Carolina is really, really popular to a lot of people, especially those historic programs in Spartanburg and Gaffney and Summerville and Abbeville. It is going to only get bigger, Diesel, and we're kicking it off in a way that I don't know has ever been kicked off this way before. I mean, are we going to set a record today for the amount of coaches or guests on one show?
16, right?
16,
that's the number.
I think
16 different coaches going to join us.
There's no way all of them will answer the phone, right?
Well, fingers crossed. So to give you a little preview of who we've got coming up in the first 2 hours of the show, and of course, as we get deeper and deeper into the show, we're going to continue to tease all the different coaches that are joining us. But here in this first segment, momentarily, we're going to be joined by Brett Nichols of Fountain Inn. And the next segment at 3:20, we'll have Andre Woolcock and Andre Cook, both from Eastside and Malden, respectively.
The Andre segment.
At 3:40, did you do that on purpose?
No, I did not. I promise I did not.
At 3:45, Drew Chisholm from Berea going to join the show. At 4 o'clock, Scoot Watson, head coach at Greenville High School, and Bennett Swigert from Hillcrest. He's going to be on with us. And at 4:20, Will Young from Greer. And later on in that segment, Cole, we're gonna have Reuben Wright, the head football coach at Wade Hampton. Just a big slate of guests here in the first 2 hours of the show, and it keeps getting better in the second half.
It does, man. Today, tomorrow, both. Today, Greenville County, Spartanburg County tomorrow, and I'll tell you this: we are going to continue to provide the coverage for you today and tomorrow, but also throughout the course of the season. Our high school player of the week that we do, Diesel, the high school coach interview, the coach spotlight that we do every week during the course of the season. And, of course, the Saturday Scramble that starts, the 16th. And today's, 31st, so we're 16 days away from the Scramble kicking off, and high school football season's here, man.
And that is must-listen radio every Saturday morning. I didn't grow up in this state. I didn't, so I don't have the emotional connection to all the high schools in the area. But I remember reaching out to you 3 years ago, saying, man, I love turning on this station first thing in the morning and hearing Cole Bryson talk about high school football, and Alex Guest as well, because you guys do a phenomenal job on that show. That's not an easy thing to do, to make that turnaround after calling a game on a Friday night, compiling all this information, reaching out to coaches, getting commitments to come on and join, and then to be able to get right back up first thing Saturday morning to host a show.
I tell you what, man,
it's a big undertaking.
It is, and I hope we can continue to do that. I'll tell you this: you said a word a minute ago, Diesel, that I think is why so many people here are so invested in high school football, and it's emotional. The emotional pull that high school football brings in this area is why people love it as much as they do. And you know what? I do a lot of things. I do this show with you every day, Diesel. I have my own business where I do all kind of other things. I do a lot of different things in my life, but I love high school football more than anything else, and it's my favorite time of the year. And Brett Nichols is going to join us here shortly. But I think going back to your point, the emotion, the people and then the bordering schools and the people you go to school with and church with, and you're going against them. And I think that's why so many people love it.
Well, most people don't know this, but Cole's other business, he's very modest. He won't talk about this on the air. His other business is kicking ass, and business is good. He's doing a great job at that. Tolos, if you're a fan of a Greenville County high school, text in, and we'll tell you what time you can expect to hear your head coach on the show today if we've got him secured. We couldn't get to every single one of them, but again, 16 coaches going to join us today. Tomorrow, Spartanburg County. So tomorrow, Spartanburg is going to be the focus. We'll be able to do the same for you tomorrow. Text into the show, say I'm a fan of this school. What time is our coach going to be on? And we'll do our best to give you a heads up because, man, it's a whirlwind trying to squeeze 16 into one show.
That was the best part, texting 16 coaches. And everybody wants 305. Everybody wants to lead it off.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and get it out of the way. Well, Brett Nichols of Fountain Inn, he was the first to respond on Wednesday, so he got the 305. And that is where we go, Diesel, to Fountain Inn, South Carolina. Fountain Inn High School, still new. I still call it new. A couple of years, 4 years now, I believe, in existence. Brett, Coach, how are you, man?
Doing well. How are y'all?
Doing fantastic. Diesel and I will bounce some questions off of you, and you are kicking us off with our wall-to-wall coverage today on the Fan Upstate with the Greenville County High School football kickoff show. Is it okay that I still call Fountain Inn new, or are you ready for us to get past that?
No, I still consider us the new guys. I definitely still call us the new school, even though we are going into year 5, I guess, or year 5 of the program. So yeah, it's still very new in a lot of ways for sure.
Coach, it's Diesel here. Nice to talk to you for the first time. A lot to be excited about last year. Winning record 6-5. You're in a tough region, obviously. Region 1 there in 4A. West Side, Wren, both in your division. You had a winning record on the road, 4-2 on the road, and you outscored your opponents 342 to 304 over the course of the season. I mean, I know there were some ups and downs with some offensive production and some defensive production, but a lot of positives to come out of last season with.
Oh, there are definitely a lot of positives to build off of, but it's funny, you go back game by game, and we had a number of games, especially starting out the year, where we were down 3 touchdowns. Like, we would blink and we'd be down, whether it be miscues on offense or defense or special teams. We put ourselves in a hole a lot, but it was really good to see our guys fight out of those holes because, again, like I said it after game 1 of last year, I said that game we would have lost by 3 touchdowns last year. And so seeing us grow and being able to get in those tough spots, a lot of it self-inflicted. But when you're playing good teams, I mean, you're not going to have a whole lot of room to not put yourself in a hole if you're not executing. But seeing our guys fight out of those, and we won a lot of close games, and we lost a couple of close games. You talked about how tough our region is. I mean, we're still trying to work to get to the level of West Side and Wren for sure. But it was a big step forward for us as a program for sure.
Coach, it's really interesting, and this question it really comes from curiosity. Diesel and I were just talking about when we opened the show about how much people in the upstate, not just in the upstate, but in the state of South Carolina, love their high school football and how popular it is. How much of a challenge was it to open a school, just 4 or 5 years ago, like you talked about, in the heart of high school football country, build the culture, build the fan base so quickly, and not only that, but also become competitive?
I wouldn't have wanted to be anywhere else. I mean, we are right in the teeth of it, and it's every coach's dream to be in places that want to win and be in, like you said, you talk about just this area of South Carolina or South Carolina in general.
Yeah.
Just the following it has in high school football, and just being right in the middle of it, and it obviously was tough. And I mean, I talk about our kids all the time and just having to wear it those first couple of years. I mean, we had to play varsity football with freshmen and sophomores. And we absolutely took it on the chin. And now 2 years later, those guys are turning around. Now they're seniors, and this paid off in the long run. And really having those guys that bought in and understanding that, as cliche as it sounds, this is a process. And we weren't going to be overnight ready to roll, but we've continued to take those steps. And we've got an unbelievably supportive community, and administration, school is awesome, and we've been able to continue to take those steps, and that's kind of how we measure everything. It's just how are we progressing, how are we moving every single day.
Coach, I remember a few years ago hearing interviews or reading interviews with the Michigan players that won the national championship. Was it 2 years ago? And they talked about when they were freshmen and they took it on the chin, but they had this core group of guys that stuck around for 4 years, and they learned and they grew together and they became champions together. That there's definitely something to that, to some guys and having a core that sticks around. Are there a couple of guys that you look at on this roster this year that are just the bread and butter, the bee's knees, the best players that could be at the school right now?
There's no question how important that core group of leaders and of guys who have been in the battle, from the get go. And I start that with our senior leader, our senior Jacob Cotham. He is a guy that, like I said, he started up front for he'll be a 4-year starter at all the spots in our O-line. He's played center the majority of the time. He's had an unbelievable offseason. He had a great year this past year. Got himself an offer from North Greenville over the summer. So he's progressed unbelievably, and he's just been a rock for our offense, as a whole, but especially with that group up front. And then really, our other guys are going to be juniors. I mean, they're still relatively young, but they've got a lot of experience. But our quarterback, Sam Holliday, he checks every single box. He is as good a player as I've been around at that position at this age, and he's exactly what you want, and he's surrounded by a bunch of guys in his same class and in this senior class that get it and that understand what it's going to take, and that's what they want to do. And and they're pissed off when we don't meet our ceiling and reach our potential. And just having those guys coming to work every single day, that's just how the stuff works, man. And that's how we're able to, like I said, keep taking those steps forward and get competitive, a little bit ahead of schedule that a lot of people think. And, like I said, we still got a long ways to go in a lot of ways. But those guys, they absolutely are the heart and soul of everything we're doing.
Coach, you mentioned Sam Holliday. I have the opportunity to talk to a lot of coaches across the upstate, hosting this show and then the Saturday morning scramble, and then calling. We carry one high school on this station as well, and talk to a lot of coaches. And man, there have been a lot of coaches talking about Sam Holliday and just kind of how he's come on the scene lately in the past couple of years. I had a chance to see him last year, and there's a lot of rave about your quarterback. Talk about what he brings to this Fountain Inn football team.
Well, like I said, skill set, he's got as much talent and as high of a ceiling as anybody that I've worked with at this age. One of the strongest guys in our weight room. He just physically, an unbelievable athlete. But what I think kind of gets lost is his ability to throw the football. And he's a big arm. He can punch it down the field, and he makes some throws and has made some throws over the summer that. I just sit back and there's nothing I'm doing as a coach for sure. He's just got a lot of that it factor. And so you're having a guy like that doesn't just rely on, hey, I'm bigger and faster than everybody else, but he just has that, like I said, that it factor. That's the only way I can describe it. He really makes us go. And everything that we do offensively is going through him. Obviously he's an unbelievable runner. And our passing game is just continuing to get better with our receivers getting older and developing a little bit more. So I certainly am expecting a big year out of Sam.
Talking to Brett Nichols, Fountain Inn High School here on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryce. And, you look at last year's schedule, and it all looks pretty good until you get to that month of October. Obviously, that's tough when you got Wren and Westside back-to-back. But what was it like in that locker room after those two losses, as lopsided as they were, that changed things, that changed the mindset? I know that the following game against Emerald didn't go your way, but it was a really close football game. And then after that, man, it was Katie bar the door. You guys were putting up points in bunches. So how did the team react to those couple of losses there in October?
That is just a great example of seeing a lot of kids grow up a whole lot right in the middle of the season. We did a lot of really good things against Wren and Westside both. They were just a lot better football teams than we were. So obviously, like every coach, you're going to take every bit of the positive out of it and try to build off of it. But both of those games, offensively and defensively, we did some things really well. We just didn't have the firepower, and our guys got to see that, and they got to see, hey, this is what a really, really good football team is going to look like, when the ball gets snapped. And so I think that was a really good for our guys to see and have to compete against. And then, like you mentioned, the Emerald game, again, another really good team that I would say we were very evenly matched with. And, they made a few more plays than we did. And that was just, again, a great football game that our guys got to feel the other side of it. Like we fought our tail off and we're right there and, all the way through it and lose a double overtime game, that hurts. But then, how are we going to respond to that? And, obviously a response and everything is what's going to dictate everything for us. And, they buckled down, went back to work, and we were able to turn it on.
Coach, my last question for you before we let you go. When you look at the 2025 season, what do you feel like you still want to improve on as fall camp starts, either today or tomorrow for your guys?
I tell you, one thing that we're always going to harp on and try to make a living on is ball security. And you go back and you look at last year, I think we lost 2 fumbles on the year, and we didn't throw a pick. So, I mean, we're not ever going to replicate that. Because that's about as good as you can be at taking care of the football for an entire season. But starting with little things like that, I mean, ball security, and then obviously creating turnovers. I would like to see us work to create more turnovers. And obviously you take whatever metric you want to and say you put a weight on it. But I say if we take care of the football and we create more turnovers, that'll put us in a lot better position in every week that we could want to be in. So you're just focusing on continue to take care of the football and focusing on creating more turnovers on defense. Like I said, there's my one thing that I'm gonna harp on, as we get into our fall camp and going, because I know how much of a difference that's going to make for us.
Coach, good luck against Liberty here in a couple of weeks.
Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all having me on.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Coach.
That was Brett Nichols, Fountain Inn Fury head coach, and Cole. I love the mascot, by the way. There's.
Yeah.
We talk about it because it's kind of funny. Most of the time, mascots are pluralized in college ball or in the NFL, but they're just the Fury, man. I love it.
I do like that. I'll tell you this. He's awesome. Coach Nichols is awesome, and we appreciate his time. Fountain Inn, and going back to the question about bringing up a program as quickly as they have and being competitive, Fountain Inn's a buzzing, growing area, as we all know. But, man, for them just to only have been – playing football for 4 years now and being as competitive as they are, I think they're going to only get better. And the quarterback, Sam Holliday, he's only going to get better. They're going to be good this year.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a team to watch for sure.
Yeah, you look at that schedule, and they can put up some points, and they can hold some teams down. They just got to figure out a way to put that together consistently, and that's a dangerous football team.
The Greenville County High School football kickoff show rolls on. We're just getting started. That is the didn't do this on purpose, but it's the Andre segment coming up next. Andre Woolcock of East Side and then Andre Cook of Malden, both in the next segment. If you're an East Side football fan or a Maverick of Malden, this next segment is for you on the Fan Upstate. The Greenville County High School football kickoff show rolls on right here on the Fan Upstate. So glad you Tolos out there could be a part of it. We are joined now by Andre Woolcock, the head football coach of Eastside. Coach, how are you, man?
Coach, I'm doing well, man. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. It's our honor to have you on as part of our kickoff show to highlight and spotlight all of Greenville County. Coach, talk about, for those that don't know, Eastside is in the SEC in high school football, and when you took over at Eastside, obviously I'm sure there were challenges out there in front of you, but how have you taken this challenge and just kind of taken the bull by the horn, so to speak?
Man, just work, man. There's no substitute for hard work. So, man, you trust God, have faith in your plan, and have faith in Him, and trust the plan you put together, and keep it moving, man. There's no substitute for hard work. So, just work hard and keep it moving.
Coach, it's Diesel here. We appreciate you joining the show. Talk about your administration and the boosters and the families around the Eastside program and the expectations they have for you. Again, like Cole said, knowing that you're in the SEC West of college football, just an absolutely brutal division. How do they put it on your shoulders? What the kind of expectations they want you to meet?
It's been awesome, man. Mr. Stafford, our principal, who's been extremely supportive, and Jack Kosmicki, our athletic director, has been supportive. And honestly, I think the community, sees the region that we're in, and I think they're excited to be, to be able to play against teams like Darwin, Burns, Gaffney, and Spartanburg week after week. So, and then you still have Riverside up the street and Wade Hampton, who are two of our rivalries. So, man, I think the expectation from my community is to put some wins together, and we're working hard to make sure that happens.
Coach, when you talk about putting wins when you talk about putting wins together, Coach, what do you have to work with in 2025? Some of the players that people might hear. Obviously, you had a guy last year that was getting a lot of attention, and I believe went on to play college football. And you've got some talent. What do you think this 2025 team will look like?
Shocking the state. I think that I think when people think Eastside football, they don't think about us being us in the playoffs and making runs in the playoffs. But I got a group of guys right now, man, that are trying to kill that narrative, and I believe that we can get it done this year. Guys like Peyton Schrader, Lucas Tinkersley, MJ Posey, Caden Workman, Messiah Parrish. I don't want to continue to name names. You always forget. Coming back, and we have some senior linemen that are going to be 4-year starters. So we're ready to achieve some success, and I think that we have the guys that put the work in. Sometimes you can go based off potential, but when you have guys that put the work in and show each other that they love each other, they're going to work hard for each other. They're going to play for the man next to them, and special things can happen. I think we got a special group at Eastside this year.
Talking to Andre Woolcock of Eastside High School, the head coach there. Coach, you talked about putting in the work. What's your favorite part of this preseason grind? Now that we're a couple weeks out, what part really gets you going every year?
The surprises. You know who your dogs are. But, every year you have that one kid who worked super hard the entire summer, and you finally put pads on, and he's just going to shock the coaching staff, shock his teammates. So I like, not saying a run or anything like that, but finding a guy in your program who just kept his head down, worked hard, and let the pass speak for itself.
Coach, we know that motivation doesn't win games on Friday night, but I'm sure that you and your staff do use ways to motivate your team because we've talked about it already, but the incredibly tough region that Eastside is in, you're going up against the best teams in the state every week in Region 2-5A. What kind of motivation do you use? Or are you a guy that really doesn't use a lot of motivation? You just want to go out and play ball?
I use motivation because the beautiful thing about this region is you're going to play against a Division I player every week.
Yeah.
And so, I have guys in my program. I have a linebacker committed to Charleston Southern. I have several other guys with some D1 interest. And I tell my guys all the time, if you want to find out if you're D1 or not, if you're a college athlete in general, you can prove yourself every Friday night in this region. So, you got guys that, look at Burns, look at Dorman, look at Spartanburg, look at Riverside. They all have D1 guys on their roster, Gaffney. So I'm like, hey, man, you're playing against a D1 guy. And if you want to show coaches that you belong in that conversation, you have an opportunity to prove it. And that's the motivation we have right there.
Coach, I know that, the NIL and the portal and all that stuff is starting to creep its way into high school football. A lot of people don't like it, but it is what it is. in college can't seem to get that stuff right yet either. Do you think high school football should wait until the college game gets something figured out and put in place, or should the high school game forge its own path and lead its own way?
I think we should lead our own way because if college hadn't figured it out, we're following a model that hasn't been proven just yet. So I think that the South Carolina High School League, those guys are smart enough to figure it out and create a system to where that it can be beneficial but not damage our game.
Coach, everybody talks about quarterback, right? I saw you guys last year, and I'll tell you this, I was actually impressed with y'all's quarterback last year. Obviously, he had some challenges in terms of the competition he was going against, but what does the offense look like in 2025? What are some of those names that fans can expect to hear on Friday nights?
Oh, starting with the quarterback position, man, we're going to go as far as Peyton Schrader takes us. That guy, he's just different. Guys like Christian McDowell and Walker Lewis are going to be guys catching the ball for him, and we return several backs with varsity experience. So we're excited, man. Again, like I mentioned earlier, several seniors on the offensive line. So I think that our offense is going to be one that people are going to be surprised if they hadn't been watching Eastside football. But those of us that have been in the locker room, and we respect the big things, especially with our offensive coordinator Justin Hoffman leading the way. He's got some good things going right now with our offense, and the guys trust him, and they're going to ball out this year. Extremely excited about our offense.
Coach, it sounds like you're really excited about your offense. Is that the position group that you feel the most solid about right now? And is there a position group you look at that's still kind of up in the air?
My linebacker group is a special group, I believe, this year. Brody Fowler, Messiah Pearson, Lucas Tinkersley, and MJ Posey. Those are, four seniors that have a ton of playing experience, and several of those guys have college interest. So we're really excited about our linebacker group. So as far as, up in the air, honestly, I'll be honest, I'm blessed, man. I'm blessed to be in a position that I'm in, that every group in my program right now, man, we got some experience, from the offensive line to the kickers and punters. Like, we have guys that have been playing varsity football players for a long time. So this is the year to put it together and get it done.
Well, Coach, we sure do appreciate your time. Best of luck this season, and we will talk to you soon, I'm sure.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me on.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Coach. That was Andre Wilcock, the head football coach at Eastside High School, and you said it, Cole, man. It is a mountain to climb every single year, that division. But I'm telling you, man, if you can start putting together some wins and chip away at that gigantic Iron Dome of powerful football programs, and that's where they are. Those are football programs in that division there, and a lot of other places are having to put together teams year in and year out. Those are programs that are solid, that have been solid for a long time.
Yeah, it's tough, and I'll tell you this: I wasn't just saying that. I saw Peyton Schrader last year. The one game I saw Eastside, and Coach is right. Peyton's a really good football player, and having some experience up front for Eastside on that offensive line, I think will pay dividends, and we'll see. I think at times you feel like, even though when you have some tough opponents, you feel like you're never really getting anywhere, but I do believe that there are some positives you can look at, and it starts with the quarterback. As Coach Andre Wilcox said, they're going to go this year as far as their quarterback takes them. From one Andre to the next, we bring in Andre Cook, the head football coach of the Malden Mavericks. Coach, that was not intentional, but it is the Andre segment. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing fantastic, Coach. Greenville County High School football kickoff show rolling on right here on the Fan Upstate. Diesel and I are going to bounce some questions off of you. Talk about Malden for those that may be new to the area. They've heard of Malden, how long you've been the head football coach there, and what kind of program and foundation you're trying to build at Malden High School.
Yeah, so this will be year 3 for me here at Malden coming up, and Malden High, not this season, I guess that would have been last season, celebrated the 50-year anniversary of Malden High School. And, it's a tight community. We get a lot of support from kids and people in the community, and I'm real proud. I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there right now. Just this off season, have been able to partner with our rec department to just build a really, really strong relationship with them in regards to football. And, I'm just really trying to build something that people are proud of and that they want to be a part of. and somewhere where kids feel valued and somewhere that they want to come be and where they want to come play. And so been blessed to build a lot of really, really strong relationships with a lot of my kids. And they've decided that they want to stay here at Malden and play for me despite some of the ups and downs that we've had. Year 1 and 2, obviously, just like in most any program, you spend some time trying to get things right and kids learning you and learning your way. And I think what we've got right now is a group of kids that are really excited about playing for Malden and really excited about playing for this staff. And I really couldn't be more excited for this upcoming season.
Coach, let's explore something you said there just a little bit more. You said learning your way. What is a Malden football team? What is the identity that you want this offense and this defense to have?
Yeah, so I'll just talk about defensively first. I'm a former defensive coordinator, even though I've kind of flipped to the offensive side, but I'm a former DC. So, everything starts with, just getting the line, man, and lining up the right way. And then after that, we're going to be extremely disciplined and flying around and, attacking the football and trying to create turnovers and having a lot of fun doing it. And so we got a lot of guys with some experience on our defense, and I'm really, really looking forward to seeing how they perform this year. I do have a new defensive coordinator this year, Marlon Alexander, and he's a former standout defensive lineman at Western Carolina, and he's done a really, really good job with the guys of getting them to understand the scheme and the approach to going out and playing defense and just playing with great eyes and being disciplined and having fun doing it. And then on the offensive side of the football, everything's going to start with running the football. Like you gotta be able to run the football to win football games. I do feel really good about our quarterback and some of the weapons that we have. We got a bunch of guys that are going to be 3-year varsity starters on offense, especially at the receiver and quarterback and running back position. And so, looking forward to being able to, run the ball when we need to, but also being explosive on the outside and being able to make plays and hopefully taking advantage of some of the matchups that we might get. But I really, really do think that, they complement each other well. We've, over the spring and the summer, those guys have really competed against each other and other schools. But I'd say probably the biggest thing is, there's never been a day where like one side has dominated the other, right? It's always kind of like a back and forth and a tug of war, and they do it, and they get after each other out there on the field. And then when it's all said and done, man, they, congratulate each other, love each other up, and we leave the field together as a team, and I'm really excited about that and the potential that has for this upcoming season.
We're joined by Coach Andre Cook, the head football coach at Malden High School. Coach, you said something in your very first answer about the rec department, and I'm sure that goes back to the way that youth in the area are coming up through the programs and, how they're taught to play football, and I'm sure you want to, expand on that a little bit. But when it comes to your relationship with them and how integral you think that is in building this program, can you expound on that a little bit?
Yeah, so I know that when I got here, maybe that program and the rec program and the high school program maybe weren't as well intertwined as you'd like them to be. I do think at most of the successful football programs throughout the state of South Carolina and probably nationally, the high school has a relationship with those programs and with the people that are over them and the coaches and. So I met with our rec department this off season, and like I say, we're going to partner and we're going to try to build what can be a little junior Mavs program with them, so that we can start now in this third year, getting those kids excited about being a part of this program and coming up, understanding what it is to be a Maverick, and just giving them opportunities for our guys to give back to them and be supportive and for them to be able to come see us on the big stage on Friday night so that we can just really build a pipeline, man. I mean, that's what it's all about, being able to, develop your players from a young age so that you're not having to, teach everybody year in and year out and over and over. Now, obviously you got to teach your kids, teaching, coaching, but we want to make sure that we're getting kids when they're young and get them excited about being a part of this football program. And I think that's a necessity in order for this football program to get to, the heights I'd like to see it get to, and to be ranked among some of the, the more elite programs in the state, because I know that's how they're doing it.
Talking to Andre Cook, third-year head coach at Malden. We brought up a story a couple of months back, Coach, about repetitive stress injuries and how those are really up in youth sports. What's your philosophy on getting your guys sort of cross-trained in other sports? Number one, to keep them from burning out on playing football, and number two, from being plagued by those tough injuries that kind of happen when you don't diversify your workouts.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and put this out there, and nobody may believe me, but I started talking about that kind of stuff a long time before people probably admitted that was an issue within athletics. But I am all for kids playing multiple sports. Yeah. I was a 3-sport athlete all through high school. My son was a 3-sport athlete all through high school, and I've always encouraged kids to play as many sports as possible, just because when you do that, football is one type of, stress and one type of work, and then basketball is another type of movement pattern, and then your tracks or your baseball or whatever, it's something else. And so I absolutely agree that, if I play one sport year-round and that's all I do, my injuries are going to be up because I'm stressing those same muscles, tendons, and ligaments, day after day, month after month over without even really giving them much of relief. And so I really stress to my guys to get involved. I got, a few kids in my program that are basketball players. I think I pushed out a few more kids to run track this year to get them out there. Got a couple baseball players, and so definitely have a few wrestlers, some high-quality wrestlers in my program. And so, I'm always going to be the coach telling those guys to get out there and compete and do other things, not just and again, not even just for the injury prevention, but also for the competitive, part of it, because, within our program, one of our 5, core pillars is compete. Because at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. When you get out there on the field, you have to be ready to compete. And, and that's play in and play out, day in and day out. And so I want to be able to see my guys compete all year long.
Coach, best of luck this season. We appreciate your time, and we will talk to you soon, Coach.
All right. Thank you guys so much for having me on.
Absolutely. That was Andre Cook, the head football coach of the Malden Mavericks. Fantastic stuff there, Diesel. And that's it. That's the whole show. No more high school football, right?
Yeah.
Just kidding.
We were talking about Eastside in the division that they've got to play in, but man, that Region 1 5A, not easy either, with Greenwood, Hannah, and Hillcrest. And plus Greenville that, had a tough year last year, but in years past has been really good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's keep it going. Cole, on the other side of the break, we'll bring on Drew Chisholm, the head football coach at Berea. And then the 4 o'clock hour already loaded up at 4:20. Scoot Watson from Greenville High School and Bennett Swigert from Hillcrest. Loaded show for you today on this Greenville County High School football kickoff.
Cole Bryson being joined by the head football coach of the Berea Bulldogs, Drew Chisholm. Coach, how are you, man?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Doing fantastic. Appreciate you joining us on our high school kickoff show, spotlighting Greenville County. You and about 15 other coaches all on the show today. It's been a lot of fun already as we've talked to several other area coaches, and we'll do Spartanburg County tomorrow. But when people think about Greenville football, especially over the past 5 to 6 years, Coach, the landscape of Greenville County has really changed in a big way. Have you seen that affect Berea High School as well?
Yeah, we see a lot of ebb and flows in Greenville County a lot of times, and we adapt and overcome. Every time we're met with a new challenge, we figure out a way to overcome it. So,
Coach, talk about obviously you were the athletic director at Berea, now the head football coach for a few years. Talk about the challenges of a place like Berea, where you in Greenville County have a lot of kids who are at different programs year after year, and there's a lot of competition in terms of who get what, in terms of what schools are getting what kids. So obviously, while you're excited to be there, I'm sure there's some challenges that you and your staff have to face as well.
right. We don't get caught up in the wild, wild west of who's going where.
Yeah.
We try to weed out all that and find loyal kids that want to come in the summer and want to work, and kids that want to work in the off season, and kids that want to do right in the hallways, and kids that just want to wear green, and we started at a young age with our middle school kids, and we wrap our arms around them and love on them and try to build relationships and make them want to wear green in high school. And so far so good on that. We've got a good young group of freshmen that are coming through that were the beginning of that process. They're a talented group, and they're going to fill some spots for us this year. They'll be on the field on Friday night, and so we'll start seeing dividends from that way of thinking very soon.
Coach, 3-7 a year ago, 1-5 in region, a pretty tough region that you guys are in. You were able to get a win over Travelers Rest in region. You talk about that youth that's coming up. What does this Berea football team in 2025 look like in your mind?
It will be just that. It'll be young and progressive. We are changing our system. If we can't be great in the spread like everybody else, we're not going to go out and recruit a quarterback or a wide receiver like some folks feel like they need to. We're going to be in a wing T system, and we're going to teach our kids how to be blue collar and how to work hard. Be on time, work hard, and have a great attitude. That's our 3 rules, and if they can do that, we can accomplish a lot of things with that group.
So, Coach, wing T, talk about where you have decided to adapt that system and kind of implement it at Berea, and what you feel like that can do for you.
Well, it's a system that creates it levels the playing field for us, so to speak, because we don't have as many dynamic kids that can stretch the field and hurt you in space. We have bigger linemen that wouldn't be as good in space, but you put them hip to hip and have them double team a guy, and now all of a sudden we might be able to move the ball on the ground some. So it's a numbers game for us, trying to figure out how to put our kids in a position to be successful. Because lining up, throwing 3 incomplete passes and punting doesn't help your defense at all.
Sure.
But if we can run the ball, get a couple of first downs, and end every possession in a kick, now we've got a chance to be competitive and keep the scoreboard, closer to our favor.
Coach, did I hear you say a minute ago that this will be your first year running the wing T at Berea? Is that right?
At Berea, yes, sir.
Gotcha. But in terms of coaches that you have known, even at past stops, where have you really seen the wing T at its best, and those philosophies that you like to implement?
Well, we saw it. I ran the system at Blacksburg.
Sure.
We had the kids to do it. We were big and strong up front. We had just enough skill to make people plan against a couple of guys that had, speed and were good in space. But it's a progressive system. We can be old school Delaware wing, 3 yards in a cloud of dust, or we can be dynamic single wing, even some old Notre Dame box type of stuff. And as our kids grow into it, we'll become more and more dynamic. I think the second half of the year will be a different team than we are the first half of the year, as our kids continue to grow and get confidence in what we're doing in this new system.
So, Coach, out of curiosity, when you implement a wing T offense, when does that start? At what point of the season? Obviously, you have your winter workouts, right, and then your spring ball comes around. At what point of those workouts and process of the calendar year, at what point do you start implementing the wing T?
Well, for us, it was the week after the last game. So in November, we started coaches meetings. Hey, this is our personnel that's returning. These are the rising guys that we think are going to contribute. Looking at the ability levels of the athletes we have coming back, we sat down and said, this is what we're going to have to do to be successful. So I spent a fair bit of time in the off season coaching the coaches that haven't been a part of the system before. Yeah. I'm fortunate that I have some guys on staff that have been a part of that system. A couple of them were with me in Blacksburg when we did that. So, we're very fortunate that we've been able to work with our kids from day one of the off season, and, that bled into spring ball and right into the summer. And if you saw us the first day of summer in our first 7-on-7, it was, as coaches say, it was a cluster at times, but at the end of the summer, we're extremely proud of how our kids are grasping the concepts and learning about spacing and timing and how everything meshes together. So it's really been neat to watch it progress with this young group, because they're going to be doing it for a long time.
Coach Drew Chisholm joining us right here on the Fan Upstate. Coach, you mentioned 7-on-7s. Again, another curiosity question here. If you're running wing T, do you as a coach feel the need still to go out and compete in 7-on-7s?
We do it for our defense, and we do it for timing purposes and spacing purposes for our athletes and our receivers and our backs. It's not gonna be a great thing for us offensively, because nobody really plays you fair. They're gonna drop 8 people, and nobody's gonna play with eight defensive backs. A bunch of people on the second, third level versus us. They're gonna load the box and try to create piles at the line of scrimmage. So it's a really more of a hey, let's go out here and get as much good work in as we can as a team, instead of, hey, you think we can go out here and win a trophy in 7-on-7 and running wing T. You're not trying to do things the right way. So,
Coach, for your team in 2025, some of the names that you think fans that may attend a Berea game here in Greenville County would hear, some of those players you'd like to spotlight.
Well, we've got a couple seniors that are just tremendous guys. They've been with us since they played D team in the 7th grade. Elijah Gary, he's a tremendous athlete, plays outside backer for us. He'll moonlight at wing back as needed as well on the other side of the ball. He's one of those guys, when you look at him, he looks like a football player, and honor student, top 5 student in his class, terrific human being, and he's just worked his fanny off over the last 4 years. It'll be fun to see him have a successful senior year, along with Tasai Morse. He'll anchor our offensive line. He's a guy that came in, didn't have a lot of natural ability or talent, and he has honed that, fell in love with the weight room, and has really, really started blossoming last year at the guard position, and he will anchor our offensive line at that spot again this year. So those 2 guys, as they go, we will go, because they're going to be big time leaders for us.
And then, Coach, last question for you, a chance for you to spotlight your coaches on staff as well, offense coordinator and defense coordinator. Who's running those sides of the ball for you? You mentioned wing T, so I'm sure you as the head coach have a lot to do with the offense, right?
Correct. So I'll coordinate the offense. Heavy-handed in there will be Coach Ford McDonald. He's our quarterback's coach. He's kind of the brains of the outfit. He's the guy that'll keep me in check. Hey, Coach, you really want to run this on this down, because we're sitting right here on this spot, or things like that. And Coach Josh Pierce will be our defensive coordinator. He's been on our staff for the last 3 years, and he's being promoted because AJ Millis is now the head coach at Southside. So,
Coach, we appreciate you. Good luck this season, and we'll talk to you soon.
Roger that. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you guys.
That's Drew Chisholm, the head football coach of the Berea Bulldogs in Greenville County, and he was formerly at Blacksburg. A little wing T for the Berea Bulldogs. We'll continue the high school football conversation. It is the Greenville County High School Football Kickoff Show. Greenville Scoot Watson joins us next right here on the Fan Upstate. Hour number 2 of the Greenville County High School football kickoff show rolls on. We've already heard from Drew Chisholm of Berea, Andre Cook of Malden, Andre Woolcock of Eastside, and Brett Nichols of Fountain Inn. If you missed any of that, you can go back on the fanupstate.com and find it there or on the free Odyssey app. And we keep the conversation going right now as we're joined by Greenville Scoot Watson. Scoot, how are you, man?
Doing good, man. Doing real good.
Appreciate you hopping on with us, man. Diesel and I are going to bounce some questions off of you. High school football season is here. Talk about the transition. We all know Scoot Watson from J.O. Man. Obviously, you took the job during the offseason over at Greenville, a program that's had success in the past. How has that transition gone for you thus far, man?
It's going well. It's going well. Of course, we had to implement our training methods in the weight room and, just working on changing the culture and, getting the kids bought in. So, but it's been a pretty good summer and a good transition.
Coach, it's Diesel here. Talk about that buy-in process. How do you sort of pound that message into their heads and get them to finally start turning the corner after a couple of years of head coaching change?
Yeah, it starts with building relationships and gaining their trust. You couple that with implementing a strong weight room program to build them up physically. And once they're built up physically, a lot of the times mentally, they start to change and start to get that confidence and but it's been real good. Our assistant coach has done a great job and implementing our vision and our mission there, and the kids are buying into it.
Coach, when you talk about coming to a new program, there are obviously challenges as you were talking about just now, but what do you think the main thing is to get a program like Greenville back on track? Obviously, we all know winning cures a lot of things, but how do you plan on doing that? What is it that you've really focused on the most?
Yeah, really, like I said before, just building relationships, that's one. They need to know that we're going to be there, as a staff and myself. So building those relationships and then establishing leadership, that's huge. That's one of the things that, we started early and, doing skull sessions, with our seniors and our juniors and, just talking about our team DNA and who we are, and really putting emphasis on those things, in order to establish an identity for the upcoming season and for years to come.
Coach, we heard a clip last week from Dabo Sweeney where he was talking about how people want him to have a bad relationship with Shane Beamer down at South Carolina. Fans want them to hate each other. What's your relationship like with the other coaches inside your region? I know you've been around for a while. Is everybody pretty close, pretty tight?
For the most part, I talked to Bennett Swigert, probably the most out of that group in our region. But for the most part, Jason Tone, he's been a good guy. I talked to him quite a bit. But for the most part, we got a couple of new coaches in the region now. Coach Cook, he hasn't been in the region that long. But for the most part, it's been some pretty good connections and good relationships with those guys for the most part.
Coach, everybody wants to know, who the quarterback is of every program, high school, college, or pro. What do you expect this Greenville offense under Scoot Watson year one to look like, quarterback all the way down to the receivers and offensive linemen?
We've got a couple guys competing for the quarterback position. Keyshawn Farrow, Holden Powell, those guys are battling it out. Arkeith Shell at receiver, he's been doing a great job for us. Bryson Mosley is another one, young 10th grade receiver that we think very highly of. Wes Brunson is another receiver that we like. He's a veteran guy, been in the program a while there at Greenville. So, we've got some guys that, that can stretch the field a little bit. And of course, at running back, we've got Messiah Bell and DeAndre Dogan, two little scat backs that can run. And so, we're looking to be pretty balanced and multiple. In the past, we've thrown the ball around, at JL Man, and hopefully we'll be able to throw it around a little bit at Greenville.
Coach, talk about the defensive side of the ball now. Obviously, you weren't there last year, so this isn't on you, but the defense didn't do a fantastic job of holding really anybody to anything. What would you like for your defense to look like this year, and how are you kind of setting it up here in year one? Is it going to be figure out their strong suits and run a defense that fits them, or are you going to shoehorn in, hard-nosed, set up your defense?
Yeah, we definitely we started setting up ours, man. We're gonna be multiple like we always have been. Up front, you'll see multiple fronts, odd and even fronts. We're building it from the front end to the back. So starting with that front seven, with our D line, our defensive ends and tackles, and linebackers. That's the core of your defense, and then working on back to that back end. But we've got a defensive end in Franklin Whitley that we're excited about. Him and Julian Rendrick on the edges. We're real excited about those guys. Jacob Christie at linebacker, C.J. Williams, and Brad Lucas, who's a veteran. He had 95 tackles last year. He was one of the bright spots for Greenville last year, at that second level at linebacker. So, we've got some guys that we're excited about. And of course, it all starts with toughness, and it all starts up front, with that front seven.
We're joined by Scoot Watson, the head football coach of the Greenville Red Raiders. Coach, when you look at this season, man, right out of the gate, you guys open with Dorman. What do you feel like that one thing is from now until the 22nd of August that you want this team to improve on so you can be ready for the Cavaliers?
Yeah, we want to continue to execute our scheme on both sides of the ball. Of course, the kicking game is huge. Not enough people talk about the kicking game and how it can affect the outcome of ball games. So we're really been working on that real strong this summer. Our punt team and PAT field goal team. So those things are huge when it comes to playing against top-notch opponents because you never know when you're gonna need that 3 points to get you over the hump or that extra point that could cost you a ball game if you can't hit it. You want to finish each drive with a kick, whether it's a punt or a PAT, or a field goal. So, those things are important. But, definitely looking forward to that matchup in week 0. And, we've been working our tails off to get prepared for that first ball game.
Coach, where would you say you've had your biggest improvement in the offseason as a coach? There's that old saying, if you're not growing, you're shrinking. How would you say that you've evolved as a coach over the past couple of months?
Patience. Anytime you get outside of your comfort zone and you take over something different, you've got to be patient. Things don't happen overnight. So patience has been something that I've had to kind of evolve and kind of attribute that I've had to kind of take on. And just be patient with the growth of the kids, and we're starting to see some dividends right now.
Coach, we always enjoy our time together. Best of luck this fall, and we'll talk to you again soon, Coach.
All right, appreciate it.
Scoot Watson, the head football coach of the Greenville Red Raiders, and Diesel, you mentioned there, they've got their work cut out for them because last season under a different regime, under Coach Shaw, J-Bo Shaw, they struggled, and I don't expect them to struggle like that this season.
Yeah, I mean, this is a program that's proud. They won a lot of games a couple of years ago. They were riding high, and I know this fan base, the people that have been around this program for a long time, and you've said it, they've had a handful of coaching changes over the last couple of years. They want to get back to where they were.
That's right.
And that's the goal. And 2-9 ought to be unacceptable to those fans. And I think maybe Scoot Watson is a guy to do it, to bring them back to where they want to be. Obviously, his reputation and his resume speaks for itself.
Diesel, before we are joined by Bennett Swaggart of the Hillcrest Rams coming up in about 2 minutes, a little bit of breaking news, not high school football related. Are you surprised when I tell you that Clemson senior quarterback Cade Klubnik was voted the 2025 ACC preseason player of the year, receiving 146 votes
out of 147? Who voted? The other way?
9 votes for Haynes King.
Ew.
Yeah.
Look, I'm high on Haynes King this year. I think the guy is 40, right? I think he's older than Tom Brady. Most people don't know that. He actually shares a birthday with Tom Brady, not just the day, but the actual year as well. He's been in college football forever, and this is, I guess, is going to be his last ride. I don't know. Like I said, it's hard to keep track of where some of these players are, right, from year to year and how much eligibility they have left year in and year out. But I think Haynes is going to be real good for Georgia Tech.
Hey, Coach,
you just don't have the dudes around him that you have somewhere else. And maybe if Haynes goes to a Clemson or to Miami or somewhere like that, you get to see him shine a little bit more than he has in the last couple of years. But this is the last chance.
But no surprise to see Klubnik there, right? No surprise at all. The Greenville County High School football coaches Kickoff show rolls on. That's a lot of words. I hope I said it right. I probably didn't, but we're kicking off high school football on the Fan Upstate. Wall-to-wall coverage until 7 p.m. tonight. You just heard from Scoot Watson of Greenville right here on the Fan Upstate. If you missed it or just tuned in, you can go back on the free Odyssey app, AUDACY, and search for the Fan Upstate and find that interview or any interview there. Let's now go back to the phone lines where we're joined by the head football coach of the Hillcrest Rams, Coach Bennett Swaggart. Coach, how are you?
Man, any better I'd be you, Cole.
That's not true. That's not true at all, but we love you. We appreciate you taking time to join us on the Fan Upstate. Coach, football season is here. A lot of excitement around your program in 2025. When you kind of settle in and take a moment to pause and reflect, do you feel like you have been able to build and mold this football program at Hillcrest the way you'd like to in the first few years?
Man, I'll be honest with you, Cole. I wish I could take credit for it. It's been something I've kind of stumbled into. Everybody asked me about it. I kind of tell them I didn't do it. God did. There were certain people that are already in place. Tony Gillespie was there, Lee Judy, Anton Bennon. We got guys like Patrick Johnson, Amos Lamb, so on and so forth that have joined the deal last year. And now we adding guys like Roy Ravenel and Clay Cotney. So it's been, more of just really good luck than great planning, but we feel really good about where we're at right now, and we got a young crew, and it's an enjoyable experience every day.
Coach, 8 wins last year, 4 wins in region. I know that's not exactly where Hillcrest fans want you to be, but I know that this program has a tremendous amount of history of success. So talk about the encouragement and the pressure. I'm sure you're getting it on both ends from fans there at Hillcrest and what you're feeling coming into this season.
No, nothing like that. I think everybody kind of understands what we've been doing, and at the same time, when first year was 10-win season and second win's 8-win season. Traditionally at Hillcrest, I'd be all right, except for a guy named Greg Porter, and a couple other fellas maybe, right? So we kind of trying to get back to that and what they said a decade ago, and I think everybody around our community is pretty satisfied with what we've been doing.
Well, Coach, everybody talks about the quarterback position first and foremost. You guys have one of the better ones in the upstate or state, if you will, in Jackson Free. Talk about how you've been able to see him develop in the past few years. He's been a kid that's been in your program, and what you expect from him in 2025.
Man, that kid is just fun to watch, right? So when I first got there, Tony Gillespie's the head C-team coach. First year with him, Jackson's the first kind of C-team quarterback we got. And he's just a gunslinger, and it's been fun watching him grow and kind of evolve a little bit more as a quarterback. He's got a history as a receiver, a punt returner. I mean, this kid's a ball player now, and seeing him kind of learn this quarterback deal has been exciting, and watching him grow within Coach Johnson's offense, that's kind of the other deal, right? So when I first got it, I had my offense, and the second year we switched over to Coach Johnson, and Coach Lamb obviously has an impact there. And now we all kind of understand each other in a way that Jackson can grow, and I can kind of leave him alone, and he don't have to serve 2 masters anymore. So I get to be a true head coach now, and watching this kid grow and within Coach Johnson's deal, it's just fun.
Talking to Bennett Swaggart, head coach at Hillcrest. Coach, I never thought that we'd be talking about the transfer portal and NIL making its way into high school football, yet here we are. What are your philosophies on keeping your players grounded when they're dealing with so much more than any other players in generations before had to deal with?
No, it's tough now. And you get family members involved, and, you might be hearing something from somewhere that may or may not be true. And I think you just start in your hallway and the relationships that you build every day, and you try to be honest about everything and transparent about everything. And you stay in your hallways. And that's kind of been our recipe for success at Hillcrest. It's been, what can we do here at this program to make our deal an attractive deal, but at the same time, we not want to just give out Coca-Colas and Nike jerseys, right? We're going to work, and I think we kind of have an element around our program that's serious about football right now.
Coach, my last question for you before we let you go, is there any truth to momentum carrying over from year to year? You had 8 wins a season ago, or do you just have to wipe clean almost and start over from scratch?
Yeah, no, I think there is something to it, but then each year has its own dynamic to it, right? You got the injury bug. We got kind of bit by it in a way that we had 3 offensive linemen, not make an appearance, right? So that's hard for any program to sustain. So you might feel like you're building something in a good direction, and then you kind of get bit by the injury bug, but then at the same time, we all spotting the ball and we all dealing with that. So, there ain't no gauge to it except what we're trying to pour into these young men each and every day, and that's trying to be successful on and off the field. And like I said, I feel like we're doing a pretty good job of that, and, everything else kind of handle itself.
Coach, as we get to this point in the calendar and there's 3 weeks to go or less until you actually get out there on the field, scale of 1 to 10, where's your body tingle at right now every day, itching to get out there?
Man, Cole, I had a rough July, so I'll be honest with you. For me personally, August, man, we sprinting to it. There really ain't a whole lot of just jacking around out there with what we doing. It's a little bit of organized and that type of affair.
Coach, we appreciate you. Best of luck this season. We'll talk again soon.
Terrific. Thank you, man.
Bennett Swaggart, head football coach, Hillcrest Rams, fired up, ready to go. And we are fired up as well, Diesel. I'll tell you what, the wall-to-wall, or as JD said, the wire-to-wire coverage continues.
Forgot the name of his own show.
Can you believe I'm not using the show name? What am I doing here?
Where's Dewey right now? He should be calling for your job. Remember, all of these head coaches and these interviews that we've had throughout the show are available on the free Odyssey app. We have the podcast up. Of course, you can use the rewind function to go right back and pick it up. But when we come back, Cole, we keep it rolling with Will Young, the head football coach at Greer, and Wade Hampton's head signal caller, Reuben Wright, on the Fan Upstate. comprehensive, Cole, I don't think fully encapsulates what we're trying to do here today on the Greenville County High School football kickoff show. 16 coaches and counting, Cole. We just keep on going. If your favorite coach is going to be on the show, hit us up and we will allow you to drop in a question here. And we go right to the phone lines, bring in Will Young, the head football coach at Greer, join us here on the Fan Upstate. Coach, I could call you coach. I could call you an institution, man, because you've been around that Greer football program for a really, really long time. Last year didn't get off to the best start, but then, man, did you turn it on starting in week number 4. What do you think? What do you think kind of sparked that turnaround that got you going against Burns and Berea?
Yeah, well, I think some of it's your competition too. We played a lot of 5A schools early. BHP was an exceptional team last year, one of the better teams they've had in a long time. And you're still learning how to play. We play week 0, so it's a lot earlier than we played back when I was in school, and you don't have quite as much time. They have limited time in practice due to the high school league rules and the heat and the humidity and the lightning and all the things that go into it. But they ventured past. I thought, the fourth quarter of the Hillcrest game, we saw a little turn last year where the kids finally, said, hey, we can play with these guys, and had a chance to win that game. And then came around the next week was the Burns game, and we had a few injuries later on down the stretch, which hurt us a little bit, but really proud of that team we had last year.
Coach, as someone in the media, we talk to a lot of coaches, hear from a lot of coaches, players, assistants, and, it's a 24/7 rumor mill. How do you as a head coach of Greer not get caught up in what's happening with players all over, not just Greenville County, but Spartanburg County as well, transferring here, there, and all over?
We've had a few. We've had a couple this summer, and where we've lost a couple kids. But our focus, ever since I've been at Greer, and I remember Coach Perry used to talk about it all the time. Is take care of the ones you got, love them, and we've got a good group of kids, and we're going to do the best job we can as coaches to help them out this year. And we're happy with what we got. We got what we got, and we're ready to go play.
Coach, I want to pull back a little bit, a little 10,000-foot view here. You've been there at Greer for a while, and obviously we've seen unprecedented change at the college game over the past 10 years or so. What do you remember back from maybe your first couple seasons of coaching there at Greer, or your stops before that you miss and you get a little nostalgic for?
Well, I think, in the old days, Greer was a little smaller community, and, the number one thing was Greer football. And, we've seen some schools around us where the population's grown and gotten a little bigger. And, it's just a lot of other little different things that draw kids' attention today. It's not just football anymore, and that makes it a little challenging. We always had kids who were knocking down the door to get to the high school to do some work or get into the weight room or do something extra, and that's changed a little bit. But still the ones we've got, once we get them there and once we get them on the field, they typically do pretty well.
Coach, you guys open with a big one at home, hosting Boiling Springs. Yeah. From a coach's standpoint, I know fall practice is starting now. When do you really start implementing game plans and focusing on your opponent? I know a lot of it, throughout the summer is focusing on yourself.
Yeah, and you're still doing a little of that. You're still trying to get the foundation down. What is it that you're going to be good at in 2025? There's going to be some things that you do probably every game you play in, and then as you get closer to that game week, there'll be some little tweaks and things we'll need to do because they're very good. They got one of the best defensive linemen in the state. That kid's special. Got a really good defensive back. They've had a little turnover on offense, but we expect them to be good. They've been good every year we've played, and as we get closer, we'll start tweaking our stuff for them.
Coach, who would you look at who's on your roster who you think maybe is a little underappreciated or didn't quite have a breakout last year that has a real chance to surprise a lot of people this year?
Well, we got several. We've got a wide receiver and defensive back in Chase Free, who, even though we got the crap beat out of us by South Point, he actually played really well at corner and had a really good game there. He's very athletic. We think he can do some things for us offensively too, and so we'll use him a good bit. We've got a really good inside linebacker in Sammy White. He's a heck of a player. He is a throwback kid. If you can pick kids that could have played when you played, he's one of them. He'd have fit right in that smash mouth football we played back in the day. A.J. Jackson's another kid that's kind of gone under the radar a little bit. He's a wide receiver, running back guy. And then, of course, we're going to lean heavily on our defensive line. We've got Peyton Armstrong back, Hayden Jones back, Lewis Bussey back, a kid named Ananias Smith. He's an undersized kid, got a great motor. That group really should be special, them and our inside linebacker group. So, but we've got quite a number. We don't have a bunch of household names right now, but I think as the season goes, there'll be some that pop out there to you.
Coach, I've asked this question of a lot of coaches lately in the past couple of weeks, but heading into fall camp, where do you feel like your team is in terms of your defense, offensive line? Is there one group that you still would like to see get a little bit better that you feel like might be behind the others?
Yeah, I think at receiver we're okay. I think we've got some good players, good solid kids there. We've returned Tucker Hudson, who played quite a bit for us, a little speedy slot guy for us. We've got a tall outside guy in Elias Jackson. Of course, Chase Free over there too. Quantez Miller. So there's a good nucleus, about 6 or 7 kids that'll play receiver. We return a running back in Calvin McCoy, who played a good bit for us last year until a concussion at Pickens, and so he was out for the remainder of the year. And but he'll be back. Of course, AJ will be there some in the backfield too. We lost our quarterback in that same Pickens game, and so we were brought up a JV kid and played him, Dawson Fowler, and then we played Ty Breeze, who was a senior. We kind of rotated those two guys at the end of the year. So Dawson actually has a little bit of varsity experience at quarterback there. We returned 3 starters on the OL, and Dallas Williams, who will be an all-star game prospect, and Nathan Huff, who's a junior, and Josh Hulkus. All 3 of those have, logged some starting time, and then we're still kind of searching for the next 2, and we'll be doing that throughout fall camp. We've already mentioned the D-line. I feel very strongly about, their ability level. It's just a matter of getting them game ready, and same thing with the inside backers. And then the secondary, I think, with Chase back there, a kid named Noel Sitton, we got to make sure we get short up at corner and that kind of deal, but going to be okay there. And our kicker, all of our kickers are back. So we got our punter back, our kickoff guy back, and our PAT guy.
Coach, how much better does that make you sleep at night when you know you've got some consistency there at punter and kicker? Because I'm sure that's a position that can make you pull your hair out.
That's pretty good. That's a pretty big one. We hopefully will be able to, kick that thing in the end zone on kickoffs a little more regularly this year. They're all a little older, a little stronger, and so that's kind of what we're aiming for there.
Coach, last question for you. For those that want to see Greer in the preseason, what does your preseason scrimmage jamboree schedule look like?
It's a pretty tough one, too. We'll open up with Gaffney next Thursday. That's at our place. Right now it's scheduled for 6 o'clock. They're loaded. They're always good. It's always a great scrimmage for us because it kind of makes us find out where we're tough, where we're not, that kind of deal. And so it'll be a good scrimmage for us. Following Monday, we go to Powdersville in a 3-way. I think it's us, Powdersville, and Easley. And then the following Friday, we're at Chapman. We play Shelby out of North Carolina. Very good football team.
Coach, good luck to you this year. We'll be pulling for you.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate you.
Will Young, head football coach of the Greer Yellow Jackets. Always fun catching up. And I tell you what, Diesel, starting out 1 week from today, actually, Greer hosting Gaffney in a little preseason scrimmage. Like you said, you want to find out, the one consistent thing from every coach that I've talked to in the past 2 weeks is you do all this in the spring and the summer, and you think you know who's going to do this, and you think you know who's going to do that. But it really comes down to 3 games, 3 scrimmages in the next 2 weeks, Diesel, where you'll find out who your quarterback is, who's going to start at left guard for you, who's going to, and these next 2 weeks are mighty crucial.
Yeah, it's you love talking to guys who have just a tremendous wealth of knowledge the way Coach Young has there. And, man, if I don't think you could find a voice out of central casting better for a football coach than that, man. That is decades of yelling at players and screaming your head off over victories and frustrations, and that's great, man. I love having guys who have been around the game for as long as Coach Will Young has on the show. Remember, you can catch any of these interviews again in a podcast form at thefanupstate.com and on the free Odyssey app.
I'll tell you what, it is the Odyssey app. Well, the cool thing about it, the chapters feature. We've got all of the coaches labeled, so if you miss any of that, you can go down there and search for the Fan Upstate, and when you click on it and you see wire to wire, you will see all of the coaches listed out in chapter form. So to your point, if you missed any of it, check it out there or thefanupstate.com. We continue our coverage of high school football, the Greenville County High School Football Kickoff Show, as we go back to Wade Hampton, or toward Wade Hampton High School. We've been close to there today, but we're finally making our way there as we bring on second-year head coach in Ruben Wright. Coach, how are you, man?
Doing great, Cole. How about yourself?
Good. Appreciate you hopping on with Diesel and I. We'll bounce some questions off of you, get you ready for high school football. And the first question I have for you, Coach, is Wade Hampton High School, a very challenging place for a football coach to go into and build a program and culture. And I've heard a lot of good things about what you're doing. What would you say you've learned most from year one now to year two?
Well, just realizing that obviously you've been in a couple of different places. I'm a journeyman and been at a lot of different schools and seen it done at a different aspect and a different way. And to come in and try to put that thumbprint on Wade Hampton year one, and you just have to realize that as much as you don't want to be, you just have to be patient with some things. And we've kind of made a commitment to do things a little bit different than in the past, and no knock on any coach or anybody that's been here before, but we just kind of had to look at ourselves as a coaching staff and, search deep on our beliefs and what we think is important and what we think we need to accomplish. And we just made a hard line in the sand to commit to that. And it's been pretty good for us so far. I think our guys have definitely responded over the summer. And I can see some of the things and some of the values and some of the things that we feel are important as a coaching staff starting to kind of hit home with some of our guys.
Coach, it's Diesel here. Good to chat with you for the first time. How do you impart upon these players and parents too, because they're a big part of the process, that it is just that it's a process, that this is a chipper where you're chipping away at those big scores that some of the defenses gave up last year, and then if you can start stacking together 2 and 3 score games, you might have a good chance to go out and win a couple of these things?
Well, that's part of it. And, football is a hard game, and that's what we've been trying to instill in some of our players. It's hard, it's demanding, and then when you don't come out and you don't really have the success that you wanted or that you aspired to have, it's kind of disheartening to some kids, and it's kind of hard. As our job as coaches, we're in there with them trying to, prod them to stay encouraged and to keep up the good fight. And the parents as well. I will say our parents here, our support system, it has been a great support system. And I do realize that they truly understand that it does take some time. We're still building. There's a saying that eventually at some point you'll get older, and we were young last year, but we're more experienced, but we're still young again this year. Because through attrition and, as I said, football being a hard sport, you just kind of get to the end of the year and some of these guys make a decision that, hey, coach, hey, nice knowing you. Football just isn't necessarily for me, or I'm going to get a job, or I'm going to focus on myself. There's always something, and then you're kind of back at it with some guys that are a little bit inexperienced, not quite old enough, haven't quite got that varsity feel yet, and you're kind of right back at ground zero. But as far as our kids this summer, our parents, our support system, they have been unbelievable. They are staying the course and fighting a good fight.
Coach, for those out there that are fans of Wade Hampton High School, and by the way, we're joined by Ruben Wright, the head football coach at Wade Hampton, who are some of the names that people will be hearing this fall, offense and defense, for your Generals?
Well, like I said, we are an experienced group. 4-year varsity letterman, Will Kay. He's one of the most explosive kids on our team, a tough kid, a good high school football player, great size that'll help us on both sides of the ball. We'll have a fight at quarterback. We got a little competition going at that position. But Tegan Hamrick was our starter last year, and we have a young and upcoming rising star in Parker McCrory. Our defensive backfield, led by 2 starters from last year, Josh McIntyre, Jaden Davis, a lot of speed, and they bring a lot of experience. Obviously, being in the region that we're in, we've seen a lot of good skill kids, and those kids have competed against them, learned their lesson, and they're back again this year. So looking for big things out of those guys. Evan Maharis at linebacker, Angel Gomez, all of those guys are returning starters. And up front, we've got a guy on both the offensive line and defensive line. He moved into our district, and this is what you love when a kid moves into your area and his parents come up here to find out about football. His name's Quay Lantion. He comes from Malden. Coach Andre Cook did a great job with him. He's been a great addition to our team, and looking for big things out of him as well.
Coach, I'm glad that you brought up that name, Parker McCrory, because we know Parker's mother real well. She works with us over here at the Fan Upstate. So maybe not last year, because I don't want you to call out any parents who remember these instances from last year. But can you remember kind of an interaction or a heated exchange that you've had with parents at somewhere else that you've been, and how do you deal with that after the fact?
Well, it's kind of tough, but I haven't had many heated exchanges. Of course, I mean, when you're a high school coach, and I've been around the block a few times, I don't know what I'm talking about to many people, and obviously, it's just a tough job.
Sure.
Nobody really agrees with you. Everybody second guesses you, and that just comes with the territory. And what you have to explain and understand is that comes with the job. In my younger times and younger ages, I probably was a little hot-headed, and by the grace of God, I'm still working and employed and not arrested. But, I mean, that comes with the territory. My wife is the one you kind of got to talk off the ledge. She's the one that gets in the altercations. I kind of stay clear.
Coach, you guys open up at home against Travelers Rest. At what point do you start peeking over on huddle on the film and looking and game planning for the Devil Dogs?
Well, it's a process. Once we kind of get involved in being able to exchange film, we do that. But our number one focus has been ourselves. To be honest with you, if I can be transparent, once we made the transition up into upper 5A, the Wade Hampton community kind of had a woe is me mentality of, we probably shouldn't be 5A, but you know what? We are. And no one cares. And, it's not necessarily about the classification, because if anybody in our region had to schedule Abbeville as a 2A, 1A school, they wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah.
So we have been focusing on ourselves, trying to get a tough mentality, a tough mindset, become more physical, and we're going to let the chips fall where they may. We are worried about our house. And if we can create tough-minded, tough kids, we don't care who we play. So that's been our mindset this whole off season, and our kids, like I said, they've been phenomenal this summer and have been definitely been more receptive to what we're trying to do.
Coach, program-wide, whether it's offense, defense, special teams, individual position groups, what are you feeling good about right now that you say this is the core of who this team is going to be this year?
Well, definitely, the defense kind of, moves a little bit more. They just seem to be more ready to perform, and the offense kind of catches up. Seems like it's been in my tenure and with my experience. I'm really impressed with our defensive front and our back seven. Like I said, we got 2 linebackers returning, 3 really. We look very good on the back end. A lot of those guys are coming back, so we're more experienced on the defensive side. We had a boy, we had a season injury with one of our young men that we were counting on, and he's still part of our program. Jamarion Smith was one of our big offensive and defensive linemen that we were looking for to make an impact this year. And he went to a Spartanburg Shrine Bowl combine, and on his last rep tore his ACL. So he's going to be missed. But we've got some new guys that have moved in. We got some pretty decent size. So I feel good about our defense. And our offense, we're young up front. But like I said, with our quarterback, Keegan Hambrick, coming back with a year under his belt, you got Parker McCrory pushing him. We got some guys outside, our running back, James Coleman, and we got a young guy pushing him, Coleman Batson. So I feel real good about our skill guys. And I think up front we'll just keep plugging along and trying to get better and developing that tough mindset.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you hopping on the Greenville County High School football kickoff show today with us and spotlighting your team. Best of luck this season, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
Hey, thank you guys for taking time out to have me on.
Coach Ruben Wright, fantastic stuff. If you are a Wade Hampton general, maybe you have kids or family that play there or go there, as Diesel said earlier, you can go back on the free Odyssey app and find that interview there. Oh,
yeah.
A chance to catch our breath, Diesel, in the very next segment.
And, hey, definitely share this stuff around. We understand that everybody's got lives. We're all running around doing our things. And if you're if you're a Greer Yellow Jacket fan, or if you're a Hillcrest fan, or any of the coaches and teams that we've had on already throughout the show, grab that piece of audio, share it around to your fellow parents that have sons on the teams, and make sure that they get to hear from their coaches.
Absolutely. A lot more coming your way. We'll tell you who's coming up in the very next segment. make sure, as Diesel said in the very last segment, you tell your friends if your coach of your team comes on the show today. Spread the word. Send them the link to the interview. All of them are up on the fanupstate.com. You can go to the podcast, click on Wire to Wire, and see all of the interviews there. I've had like 5-6 people text me already during the show, and their coach was on and enjoyed the conversation from the coaches. High school football around the corner, and the conversation, Diesel, even though we've already had a lot on, it's going to continue. Woodmont, Malcolm Boyd coming up, Chris Glover of Carolina, Matthew Rochester of Riverside, John Boggs of Blue Ridge, and that's just in the 5 o'clock hour. Quinn Hatfield of Christchurch, Bryce Smiley, J.O. Mann, Chris Goodman of Travelers Rest, and I believe that is all for today, at least.
And then we get to breathe and do it all over again tomorrow.
Right.
Tomorrow, Spartanburg County, you're up. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Spartanburg County tomorrow. And look, I'll say this, Diesel, the reality is 15, I'll even go more recent, 10, 15 years ago, 10, 12 years ago, Greenville County High School football was looked at as the red-headed stepchild. And all of the programs, there were a few good programs, 1 or 2 good programs here and there, but Greenville County is continuing to up their game. Look at what Scoot Watson's done and Greg Porter did, and obviously he's at Lawrence now. But there are many, many good teams in Greenville. Look at Bennett Swaggart, and he'll have to start naming. I shouldn't, but a lot of good coaches, and we always ask the question, well, how do you make an area better? I think Greenville's done that by hiring some really good coaches that you've heard from today.
Yeah, it starts with investment, and starts with it starts with having that kind of program that parents want to send their kids to, whether it be a school that you grow up in their district and they start to build a little bit of tradition and keep it going, or with the transfer portal being what it is, you got to be able to put out some attractive offers to get guys out to choose your school.
Also, Diesel story, speaking of Greenville County High School football, as we're doing the kickoff show today, what was it, 6 months or so ago when you and I had we discussed the story that all of Greenville County football fields were in the near future going to turf. So the day has come that you now have the conversations of like, who actually still has grass fields anymore? And the new Burns Stadium that's being built right now, obviously it's turf. Burns was one of the last few that had grass. Dorman, one of the last few that has grass. Some of the smaller, 2A, 3A programs still do, but man, it's a turf war now.
That's fascinating to me, and granted, I'm not a sports doctor, so I don't understand how and why stopping and hard stopping on turf as opposed to grass can lead to tears and various injuries. I would think that playing on a consistent surface week in and week out would give you the ability to reduce injuries, but that's not really the case.
No, listen, grass is proven to be safer,
but it's expensive to
grass
continue to maintain.
And what drives everything in this world? Money does.
Money.
And yeah, you're right. It's expensive turf. You lay it down, guess what? Like the Burns turf, the stadium, they got the lacrosse lines. They'll have the soccer lines soon. They get the football lines. They don't have to mow it.
You pay for it. You put it down, and you don't really have to touch it for years, right? With grass, obviously you want the grass to look good, so then you got to hire a good grass company. Then you got to spend money to water it. You got to spend money to fertilize it. And you got to spend money to fix it after you've just had a rainy football game. And then you got to keep it healthy all year long, because it's not going to be healthy in time for season if it's been unhealthy all year long.
True.
So
it's a lot of money.
It's a tough deal to keep that up, and I understand why schools are going to turf. When we come back, Cole, let's keep it moving in our Greenville High School kickoff show with Woodmont coach Malcolm Boyd up first and Carolina head coach Chris Glover after him. Huge list of guests so far throughout the show on this, our Greenville High School Kickoff Preview show. So many names, so many schools we've touched on already. Remember, you can go back and catch any one of these interviews on the free Odyssey app. You can also podcast it at thefanupstate.com. Cole, but are you feeling a little out of breath yet talking all this football?
I love it. I absolutely love it. Injected into my veins, man. I love high school football, and a lot of feedback already from those Tolos out there listening, enjoying the high school football conversation. What do we had? 1, 2, 3, 8 coaches already on the show, wire-to-wire coverage, and continuing that, Diesel.
Yeah, let's keep it going right now with Malcolm Boyd, the first-year head football coach at Woodmont. He was the offensive coordinator at Dorman last year. Obviously, that's one of the most prestigious jobs in the state when it comes to coaching high school football. So, Coach, nice to talk to you for the first time. Tell us, why Woodmont? Why now? What attracted you to this opportunity?
First of all, thank y'all for having me on. It's a great opportunity to showcase our school, our players, and our community. But really and truly, I mean, I'm born and raised in Spartanburg School District 6. It's been my home over half my life. And honestly, when this job came open and I came here, it felt like another home. The kids are all outstanding. The community support and admin are out of this world, some of the best I've ever been around. And so when the opportunity presented itself and, you know, the interview process just felt like a conversation between family. It didn't feel like a true interview. And when they got offered the job to me, it was a no-brainer. I jumped right on it. Talked to my wife a little bit. She said the same thing. And, you know, it's just been nothing. It's been home. It's just been like a perfect fit, like I've been here my whole life.
Coach, you look at the past few seasons for Woodmont, 2 of those 3, 3 and 7 years, tough years for Woodmont. They went 5 and 6 the other 2 years. It was either 5 or 6 or 5 and 6 and 3 and 7 in a 4-year span. What do you see about this Woodmont program where you feel like you can build something special?
In all honesty, everything is here. The investment, we got a full-time strength coach now. The facilities are top-notch. Like I said, Ms. Patterson, our principal, and Coach Carter, our AD, are fully invested, not only just in athletic, but the kids themselves. And I think truly that's what's going to take us over the top to start winning some football games, because we are truly purpose-driven and not results-driven, because we want long-standing results, not just temporary results.
Coach, you talked about that conversation you had with your wife before taking this job. What's that dynamic like in your family? Is football a family business, or does she kind of take that same tone as my wife, who says, "Well, I'm going to lose you for football season. I'll see you again in February"?
Well, what's funny about us is we lose each other, period, because she's the head girls basketball coach at Spartanburg.
Oh, my.
Yeah. So athletics is our life. I mean, in all honesty, what's funny is we joke about it. Obviously, being raised at Dorman, can't stand Spartanburg, but she had her opportunity, and it was amazing. She jumps on it, and I'm finally thinking, you know what, that's over with, because during that week, whether it's football or basketball, it makes dinner very tough that week. But I'm like, you know what, at Woodmont, it's finally over with. Don't have to worry about it anymore. Come down here for my press conference. The first thing she does is sign up for 2 basketball games. I'm like, what?
There you go. There you go. I love it. We're joined by Malcolm Boyd, the head football coach, the new head football coach at Woodmont, as we are right in the smack middle of our high school, Greenville County High School football kickoff show, spotlighting every program in Greenville County. Coach, when you look at the identity of Woodmont football, what your thumbprint on the program will look like, talk about the staff that you've hired and put around this program, and what this offense and defense will look like for you in 2025.
I got to brag on my staff, man. They have really jumped in head first on anything that I've tried to push. In all honesty, we are so tight-knit. Like, we've been around each other for a long time, and we've had people – I got guys on my staff that's been in for 20-plus years, and I got guys that, you know, that's all of our first year here, and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. On offense, our biggest thing is, you know, we're going to be physical. I've been played under Coach Gutshaw and working under him. I don't really say I have an identity for what our offense would be and the same thing you talk to Coach Gutshaw's adaptability, what our kids can do best. And we're going to do what we find out we're going to do best. We're going to do it best and just throw it at you a bunch of different ways. On defense, flying to the football. If you don't see 11 hats flying to the football, then we have a problem. Again, being very simple, letting our kids, just play the game, because we got hired in March, but it was my spring break and then their spring break, so we really didn't get started to mid-April. So we're trying to keep things simple and make our kids be able to be successful, so that way they can just react on the field.
Coach, how do you start imparting a mentality of being the hunter in this really tough region? Region 1 5A. You got some really good programs in there, but when you look at how the season kind of shuffled out last year, you're right there with the ability to jump a Malden, to jump a Greenville, and have Hillcrest right there in your sight. So how do you kind of impart that mentality in them?
I think it just starts with hoping what our standard is. In all honesty, we don't worry about the opponent. I very rarely even talk about the opponent. I talk about ourselves more than anybody, because at the end of the day, you look at most teams, what beats you? Yourself. And we got to learn to be able to control Woodmont before we worry about anybody else. And like you said, we, for the longest, have been the doormat is what the word is used around here. But the only way we're going to change that is to fix us first. So that's our biggest focus right now. We really don't, like our first game is Seneca, we really don't talk about Seneca. We talk about us.
Coach, you mentioned earlier, as we're joined right now by Malcolm Boyd, the first-year head coach at Woodmont. You mentioned earlier Coach Dave Gutshaw, the former head coach a few years ago at Dorman, who you played for and coached under, as you talked about there. If he were to walk into your program today and you said the same thing to him that you said to us a few minutes ago about adapting to the type of players that you have on the roster, because you're right, I heard him say that all the time, even on interviews with me. He said, look, one year we might throw it a lot, one year we might run it a lot. Just depends on what we have that year. What would 2025 Woodmont be geared toward more, running the football or throwing the football?
Well, I think we have a very talented running back core, and we have very talented wideouts. So we're probably very balanced. I would say our strength on offense would probably be our offensive line. So I would probably gear towards more running the ball just to be an offensive line guy. But I'm also the offensive line guy that don't mind throwing the ball around. I think that, like you said, that just comes from Coach Gutshaw. So if I had to guess right now, I would probably lean more on the run game, because, keeping people off the field, wearing people down, that's going to be part of our mentality, is just being physical first, throwing the first punch, not warming up into anything. So if I had to say anything, I would say probably hang our hat on running the football, because I said, but we also are very talented outside and very young. So we have something that we can definitely grow off of.
Coach, we've had several coaches on so far today talk about, motor and about work ethic. So who do you see so far? And I know you just took the job, 4 months ago or so. Who have you seen so far on your roster that's just blowing you away in those categories in work ethic and motor?
I'll tell you, the first person that always sticks out is Adrian Estridge. He's an offensive tackle for us. He'll probably play guard at the next level. I mean, his motor, his leadership, when he talks, people listen. And the other one will be J.J. Gibson. Even though he's been injured here or there and has stuff going on, he's the same way. He talks. When he talks, people listen. And it's because they do everything the right way, and they know that even though he might be questioning them, they have nothing to say back, because they know they're doing it, if not at that same level, 10 times more. But in all honesty, I have to give all of our kids credit, because we have an 85% rule, and all of our kids have been very, very consistent since the start of May 1. We've had a great turnout all summer and all spring.
Coach, best of luck in your first season. Obviously, we'll talk to you a few more times throughout the course of the year, but best of luck to you, your staff, and your team.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. And again, thank you for having us on.
Absolutely. Malcolm Boyd, first-year head football coach Diesel over at Woodmont.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to watch, because, to his point, he talked about it. He has a lot of experience under Coach Gutshaw, playing there, one of the legends in South Carolina when you talk about coaches. But Woodmont's different than Dorman. And to see how he will shape this Woodmont football program. I'm excited to watch.
Yeah, it's all about implementing a standard. Coming from that Dorman program, you know what standard means. It's beaten into you from day number one. And so that's going to be the battle right there, is creating standard. And he said it. It's about comparing yourself to yourself, being better than you were yesterday. And, that's hard to get into some kids' minds who don't have a ton of history of success. A lot of people are results-oriented, not process-oriented. You got to figure out how to turn, 17, 18, 16-year-old kids into process-oriented people. That's a tough thing to do, and he's got an uphill battle to go this season. But again, in a division that at least last year was a little bit top-heavy with three really good football teams and a handful that were kind of sitting right there in that middle, you got to feel like you got a chance to maybe get a couple of those games if you're Coach Boyd there at Woodmont.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Look, Woodmont's had some players. I mean, I remember back just a few years ago, Diesel, on the Saturday Scramble, we were talking about Woodmont is, their quarterback and some of the athletes they have had in years past at skill position. They've had some dudes. So it's just a matter of putting it together, and good luck to Coach Malcolm Boyd, his staff in his first season. We'll talk to him again, I'm sure, throughout the course of the season. But the Greenville County High School football coaches show continues. We now go to Carolina Academy. We're talking to Chris Glover, the head football coach at Carolina. Coach, how are you, man?
I'm doing well. How about you guys?
Doing fantastic. Diesel and I will bounce some questions off of you. Football season is here. I mean, fall practice starting this weekend for just about every high school in the state. Coach, how excited are you to lead this Carolina Academy football team in 2025, and what makes you excited about it?
I'm very excited, very excited. We have a great group of senior leaders, and I'm one that I always believe that, when you got leaders within the program that's kind of player-led, where coaches don't have to lead everything, it gives yourself a better chance of success. So those guys have bought into everything that I've instilled from the beginning when I first took the job, and they've done it not only just in the weight room, but in the classroom as well.
Coach, where have you seen the most improvement with the guys that you've got as the core of your team? Are they are you seeing the leadership improvements? Are you seeing the on-field stuff? What part is sort of outpacing the others?
I'm seeing it both. Just from the leadership standpoint, I just finalized my summer attendance, and my seniors and the juniors. The goal was for everyone to make 25 workouts. I might have had maybe 2 seniors that didn't get it, and that's out of 14. And I think I only had 2 juniors that didn't get it, and that's out of 12. So that's just very pleasing, but it's also set a model and a standard for the very few 9th and 10th graders that we do have, but they kind of seeing the work that it takes, and they've kind of committed themselves, because all of those guys also made over 20 workouts.
Coach, 4th season for you at Carolina, correct?
Correct.
What do you feel like you've been able to see in these 3-4 years, because you were hired in May, so you didn't really get a full season? So these 3 to 4 years that you've been at Carolina Academy, what do you feel like you've seen that you can build upon? Last year you guys had a tough year, got a win over Southside, but I'm sure you can look for building blocks in other areas outside of wins as well.
Correct. Well, the first one is the classroom. That's kind of been my biggest thing. When I first took the job, our team GPA was below a 2.0. This year we finished as a team with a 2.96. The goal is to get it to a 3.5. Guys, if you got a chance to go to college and you have college interest, you've got to have the academics. So that's kind of one of the things I harped on, your academics and your character. So I've seen both of those areas we have improved on. We've improved our academics, and our characters improved as well.
It's Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson, rolling through our Greenville County High School football kickoff, talking now to Chris Glover, head football coach at Carolina Academy. Coach, how do you balance, that the ideas of trying to have an identity and sort of tentpole that and be that year in and year out versus trying to bring in wrinkles year in and year out? How do you want to do like a 50-50 split, a 60-40? How do you like to do that?
You just talk as far as offensive balance or just balance in general?
All across the field.
I prefer to be 50-50. But wherever I feel that our strength will be, I want to build on that and make it stronger, but also improve in the areas that we might be weak and we're lower at. So if that percentage is in the 40s and I want it to be 50-50, I want to try to get that up as well.
Coach, you when you look at who you've coached under, really impressive names there. Jet Turner, Mark Hodge, some of the names that we all know in the high school football world from their time at Carolina, and obviously Jet Turner at Woodmont back in 2019. What have you learned most from those coaches, not just those, but others in particular that have kind of shaped you and molded you into the coach that you are now?
Well, first I'll give just credit to who was my high school coach towards the back end of my high school career, Coach Jimmy Ty, who's no longer with us. He kind of set the standard. Him and his staff, Coach DeBose, who's at Emerald, who coached me in high school as well. Coach Richard Brady, who's no longer coaching. He was my first high school coach before he took another job and Coach Tao came in. So those guys kind of, I guess, made me want to be a coach, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Then, I've been blessed just to work with great guys who was head coaches, starting with Coach Doug Shaw when I first came over to Carolina. He was fighting the same battle when I first took the job as an assistant. And he just kind of taught me a lot of things just to persevere, hey, just continue to tough it out and fight through. And then, then we had, success with Coach Hodge. Just learned a lot of things about, hey, commitment and developing. And that kind of helped me grow more as a coach, just working with Coach Hodge, just some of the things and the ideas, because I always considered him a defensive guru, which he was at that time. But so I learned a lot from him, and then Coach Wright came along, who was another defensive guru. So I learned something different from Coach Wright as far as just understanding how to have fun with the kids and build that relationship and build that rapport. Well, Coach Hodge, and I learned how to commit to strive for excellence, continue to grow, and then going to Greenwood and have an opportunity to work up under Coach Dan Pitt. A elite program that kind of had a lot of expectations. Just learning how to coach and deal with those expectations, because we never had that from the previous stops where I was coaching at the time. So then I got to work with Coach Turner for a year. And he was just good. He was good as far as he had his system. He was committed to what he was going to do. And he was a guy that trusted the guys that was around him, just like all the other guys that I was able to work up under.
Coach, best of luck this season. We appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you soon, I'm sure.
All right, guys. Appreciate you having me on.
Thanks, Coach.
Absolutely. Coach Chris Glover, the head football coach at Carolina Academy here in Greenville. Tolos, the conversation continues. Riverside's Matthew Rochester, Blue Ridge, John Boggs coming up in this hour. We'll continue the conversation next. County High School football kickoff show rolls on. That's right, about 7 or 8 more to go. We've talked to a lot of coaches in Greenville County, and we bring on right now the head football coach of the Riverside Warriors, Coach Matthew Rochester. Coach, how are you, man?
Doing well. Thanks for having me, and looking forward to getting football rolling.
Absolutely, man. It's here. And look, Riverside under Matthew Rochester has looked a lot different than Riverside did in the past. A lot of promise in the past few years with a lot of really good athletes. What excites you most, Coach, about 2025 and the potential that you guys have?
I just look forward to getting back out there again. Every time I tell the kids all the time, every time you're able to get out on the field, whether it's practice or it's a game, it's an opportunity to go out and play football. And a lot of people don't get to go do that. And so just look forward to getting back out there, excited about the guys we have coming back, excited about a couple new faces, young guys that might be stepping up in some areas for us. Just excited to see the guys go out and, play in a really good region that we're in and, see if our guys can compete.
Coach, it's Diesel here. Good to chat with you for the first time. Seems like you had a pretty stout offense last year. Obviously, there were a couple of games that didn't go your way, but, man, hanging with the best of the best in a really tough division. What do you envision for the offense this year?
We expect nothing, but nothing but the same. We really lost Mikkel Skinner. I guess he's the biggest piece that you're missing. It's a pretty big piece when he's 6'4", 220, playing receiver. So that's a big one we got to replace, but we got a young group of guys, really a couple older guys coming back. Actually, Samad Edie just committed to Wake Forest. Wow. He's actually going to flip over and play a little bit more offense this year than he did last year. So being able to get Jaden Taylor back as well, we call him Speedy. So able to spread the field a little bit with those guys, and to have a guy like Gideon Murhib at quarterback, really keeps us in a lot of good situations. I think people, a lot of people when they're watching football, you see the touchdowns and the numbers, but staying out of third and longs and staying out of first and longs and doing some of those things as a young quarterback, he did well for us. So we're excited to see him come back. Keon Knowles at running back should be another good name for us and another guy that should be able to put some touchdowns on the board for us. But really excited about the offense, coming back and the explosive they bring on that side of the football.
Coach, when you talk about Gideon at quarterback for you guys, and you mentioned it, what he was able to do last year, some promise there. What do you feel like in his game specifically you and the rest of the staff have wanted him to kind of work on heading into this season?
Definitely he's matured a lot. I think that's a lot of, kids are in high school. They're young. They get thrown a lot of stuff at them. And, he's done a really good job of handling all of that. And he's a tough player. High school kids aren't that big, and some of them take licks. And he does a good job of kind of receiving some of those licks and getting back up and getting in the huddle. He took some last year, making some really good throws. But I think just the matureness in this experience, I think, the faster you can get, younger kids playing at that speed, the better they perform, as they get older and the more experience they have. So really excited to see his maturity, and how he kind of can control the time of the game, kind of manage the game a little bit better for us. And really excited to see what he does for us this season.
Coach, can you let us in a little bit in the recruiting process from your end, the high school coaches' end, when a school like Kentucky is coming after a guy like Mikkel Skinner? Obviously, I know he had offers from a couple of big-time schools, especially right here in the area. How much are they recruiting you at the same time?
I think, it's a different game for them as much as it is for us. You got to kind of, teach the kids the correct things to look for in a school, because you're really looking for the school. Those coaches can move. His coach that recruited him to Kentucky actually just flipped over and went to Louisville not too long ago, so he's kind of went through that, a very quick situation, in that next level. But it's just teaching the kids the right way. I think, coaches will, call us all the time and kind of bug us a little bit, to try to pick their minds and pick their brains and see where the kids' heads are at. But I think for the most part, it's just teaching the kids, the correct things to look for and going to a school. And then just getting the kids out there, getting the kids' name out there, getting their tape out there for those guys and, letting the tape speak for itself.
Coach, when you and your staff kind of evaluated 2024 and looked at what you did well and looked at what you wanted to improve on, what do you think the biggest focus, the biggest goal that you're really trying to implement, not just this summer but throughout the entire offseason, has been going into the season?
Just being more disciplined. I think we did, like you said earlier, I think we did really good on offense in some ways, but we also, kind of shot ourselves in the foot in some close games that I think we, go on that I think you can win. And then defensively, the discipline on that side of the football, making sure you're in your gaps, limiting in those big plays. And when you're in our league, you're going to see big plays. So if you can limit those big plays on defense and kind of increase them on your end, I think with using discipline, you're able to do that. And so a big thing for us has been discipline. I think that kind of helps us in the penalty aspect as well. If we can kind of eliminate those penalties, eliminate those yards against us, kind of puts us in a winning field position situation, and I think that can only help us. So being disciplined around all phases of the football game has been a big emphasis for us in the offseason.
Joined live right now by Riverside head coach Matthew Rochester. Coach, talk about where you were 3 seasons ago as a coach versus where you are now going into year 4. Where have you improved most as a coach?
I think 3 years ago, head spinning, a little bit underwater. I think any young head coach, especially being the first-time head coach, would be in the same situation. And I think the biggest thing is just having great people around you. I've been fortunate enough to have really good coordinators around me in my short years of being a head coach, and having good people around you. And I had a coach at NGU tell me one time, you're only as good as the people around you. And so having those people around me has been very beneficial. And I think just kind of being a little bit more of controlling the game aspect, the practices, kids love practicing the same. When I was first young, every practice was the same, but they need a little bit of variety. They need different ways of thinking. It's almost kind of like being a teacher. And so, I think that's where I've kind of grown a little bit, is kind of getting a variety for those guys, having us learn different skills, different fundamentals, and different drills, and that's been really good for us in the off season. We're going to move forward and kind of do that with our practices. So, but I think the biggest thing is just having good people around you. I think it takes a village to raise kids. It takes a village to teach the kids. It takes a village to coach them up in football. So I'm thankful for my village of guys around me and my parents and my community that help us raise our kids and teach them football.
Coach, has there been anything talked about of just getting off to a fast start, not only at the beginning of the season, but also in region play, and how that can kind of set the tone for the rest of the season, for the rest of the region slate? Because last year, you guys got off to a tremendous start. You were 3-0, and then when you started region play, you had an 11-point loss, a close loss against Dorman. A couple of weeks later, a 7-point loss to Gaffney. So is that something you talk about in terms of getting off to a good start in region play?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you said it, starting fast, and we kind of preach that in every game, is we got to start fast and then we got to finish. And that kind of goes into that discipline that we've talked about all off season, is, being disciplined late in the games when you need it the most. That Gaffney game was huge late in that fourth quarter. Kind of we were both tied up. So being disciplined on all aspects of the game can kind of, start you fast in the early point. But again, like you said, in our tough region, you got to be able to get your feet on the ground low. Lost a tough one to Dorman. It was a defensive battle there for the longest time, and they were able to get some points going there. Weren't able to see Burns last year, but we'll kind of see them earlier on in the season this year again, and they're going to be really good. So it's important to kind of establish and get an idea of what your identity of your team's going to be, especially moving to that region play, and make sure, you kind of setting yourself for a place in the playoffs, so you can move forward in the postseason.
Matthew Rochester, Riverside head football coach, how have you seen the expectations among families of your players grow there in that Greer community? Obviously Greer as a whole has a lot of history with some really, really good high school football. So in your short tenure, how have you seen that sort of come up in Riverside's side?
Oh yeah, it's tremendous. I think when I first got there, it was a struggle for us to win. And I think anytime it's a struggle for you to win, it's a struggle to get fans and the community out. And so, winning a few football games definitely helps that. But the culture definitely changed. The culture and the players have changed. The culture and their families have changed, and then the community has changed. And so, and we're still in that process. We're still in that building, kind of getting back to, where they were once before when they had some good teams. And we haven't been great in the past, but, trying to build that is all changing the culture. It's about,
building a culture of winning and wanting to be a winner. And, it's all, losing is okay, but it's not good to accept it. And so, I think, kind of building that culture within our team, it just feeds into their families at home and into the community. And we've, been able to get some wins on the field and have some big players go to some big time places. And that also helps. But it's just really good to see the community, especially that Riverside community in Greer, come out to some football games on Friday nights and support the kids.
Coach, best of luck this season. We appreciate your time today, and we'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys having me, and appreciate what you do for high school football, man. It's freaking awesome that you guys do this, and glad that you guys keep on doing that for these kids.
Thank you, man. It means a lot. As we go from Matthew Rochester of Riverside to head football coach of the Blue Ridge Tigers, Coach John Boggs. Coach, how are you, man?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing fantastic. Diesel and I are preparing you and all the listeners out there for high school football season. 16 coaches today on the show in our Greenville County High School football kickoff show as we now focus our attention on Blue Ridge. Coach, I've asked this question already a couple of times today, but what excites John Boggs about Blue Ridge football in 2025?
Well, I think the thing that excites me the most is just you spend so much time with these kids in the off season, getting ready for football season. This starts way back in December into November last year, and just the preparation and the workouts in the winter and the spring practices and the summer 7-on-7s and 11-on-11s. It's finally football season. It's the day one. Let's get out there. Let's get after it. And that's what excites me is getting these kids out on the field. Even though we've been on the field a little bit this summer, it's not the same. Now we're getting ready for football season for real. So.
John, good to talk to you here for the first time. It's Diesel. Last year you got off to a good start. Big wins over Wade Hampton and Polk County, then had a little bit of a slide there. How do you keep your kids focused on those wins and kind of keep that taste of winning in their mouth even during a tough stretch like that?
Yeah, well, last year, coming in off the hurricane, I think we go Greer on Friday night, Seneca on Tuesday night, Daniel on the following Saturday. So, that's the three toughest teams in our region, and back-to-back days. The preparation time for that was very, very little. And coming in after the hurricane came through and just trying to get back to some sense of being normal was huge. But it literally it's a daily process. What are we doing today to get better? What am I doing to make myself better today? What are our kids doing? What do they need to work on each day? And it's truly a process. Day by day, let's do what we need to do to get better and be ready to go into that week one opener with Wade Hampton over there. So.
Coach, 2025 Blue Ridge Tigers, for those that will follow the program closely, who are some of the names that you expect to have big seasons?
Well, I think, Gavin Forrester back he's been our starter quarterback for the last 2 years, and he's really grown and continuing to get better each and every year. Unfortunately, he hasn't finished either of the last two seasons, so, getting him to the finish line and getting him through the season healthy. He had a collarbone break his sophomore year, and then just had a really bad ankle injury last year that he banged it up early in the season, and then it got worse as the season went on. He ended up missing some time against Daniel, came back, and then tweaked it again pretty bad at Pendleton in week 10, and then wasn't ready for the playoffs. So, for us, keeping him healthy and having him ready to go. But, he's a dynamic player. He was an 800 guy last year, well on his way to 1,000 yards, past 1,000 yards rushing until he got injured. Braylon Edwards coming back off injury. He got hurt early last year against Polk County. He broke his collarbone, and then he wasn't able to come back, but he was having a great year there. Brylan McCoy's had an excellent off season, playing linebacker, playing running back for us. We look forward to we get Colt Johnson back on offensive line. He missed some time last year, so we had some injuries a year ago that really kind of took some kids off the field. We're looking forward to getting them back and staying healthy. But then, I think some newcomers. You got guys like Marquell Troop at receiver and defensive end. You got Mitchell Bobbitt, who's a dynamic punter and kicker. Also plays receiver for us. Tyson Hicks has had an awesome off season, and he'll be a guy to watch. He was our leading receiver a year ago. He and Mitch both. Mitch was our leading in yards, and Tyson was our leader in touchdown catches. So having those guys back will be big. Aiden Crump's had an awesome year, but be back at defensive line. And then some of our offensive linemen have continued to grow. Aiden Harris, Jake Ayers, Logan Rainey. Those guys have worked their tails off. Dylan Duty's a junior offensive lineman. He's really started to grow, and seeing those guys starting to gel together has been a lot of fun.
Coach, unfortunately, player movement is becoming a bigger and bigger part of the high school game. So walk me through the process. If a player that you maybe had high hopes for in the coming season comes to you and says, Coach, I just don't know that Blue Ridge is the place for me anymore. I'm thinking about going somewhere else. How do you try to navigate that situation and maybe pitch them to stay there with you because of the plan you got for them versus wishing them the best of luck?
Well, we try to build relationships with these guys from day one and make sure they understand we're in it for their best interest as a human being, number one, and not just as a football player. And football's part of the vehicle for us to help get them to where they want to be. Try to toughen them up, try to help them learn how to work through adversity, how to work as part of a team, how to there's a lot of lessons you're going to learn from the game of football. Outside the classroom, it's just part of the whole educational process, and we're all about trying to develop each and every one of our players as a human being, as a person, make them a better man. I'm gonna coach the kids who are here, and our staff's gonna coach the kids who are here. If guys want to go find somewhere else and they feel like they got a better opportunity somewhere else, and so be it. We're gonna coach the kids who are here that we can coach and try to make a difference in. That's what we're here for, try to make a difference in their lives and try to impact them and try to help them go on as they move on.
John Boggs, head football coach at Blue Ridge, joining us on the Fan Upstate. Coach, my last question for you, scheme-wise, is there anything different you change year to year and plan on changing in 2025 to take y'all, from where you were last year to one step up, or is it just focusing on the little things that make you better?
I think focusing on the little things, and you're always going to find some stuff in the off season that you try to tweak in your system and add to your packages and try to help you out in certain situations. But for us, we're going to be an 11 personnel team on offense mostly, and mix in some 12 personnel and run some power, counter, and buck sweep, because that's kind of who we are. And having a running quarterback really helps add to that. And then we've got some guys coming back this year at receiver that we feel like allows us to spread it out and throw it around a little bit with them, a little bit more probably so than we have in the past. But then defensively, we're going to be a 3-4 weak side reduction team most of the time, and bring try to keep it simple, let those guys run and go tackle football.
Coach, good luck to you this season. Go get them in week 1.
Thank you. Love what you guys do. Appreciate your support of high school football, and excited, man. Football season's here. It's the best time of the year.
Absolutely. Thanks, Coach. John Boggs, head football coach at Blue Ridge. He's right. It's here. Practice started today, Diesel, for a lot of schools, a lot of teams waiting until tomorrow or Saturday. But it's here, man. Buckle up.
It is, Cole. We've gone basically wire to wire to this point when it comes to high school football. We'll take a little peek over the fence, see what else is happening out there real quick, and then we'll get back to it at 6 o'clock with Quinn Hatfield of Christ Church and Bryce Smiley of JL Man. But coming up next, our Daily Wires. Well, it's a good bubble to be in, Cole, but we've definitely been in a high school football bubble all show long. But there is more happening out there. We call them our Daily Wires.
Buzz.
This is the buzz happening around the sports world. Certainly not going to be an exhaustive list, but some trades and fun things going on in Major League Baseball leading up to the trade deadline, which is just an hour and 12 minutes from right now, starting with the Houston Astros, who are reacquiring Carlos Correa in a blockbuster deal with the Minnesota Twins. Carlos was a Rookie of the Year and a two-time All-Star in his prior stint with the Astros, so that's big to get him back.
Yeah, Jeff Passan of ESPN, literally, the ESPN app has been sending like 8 Jeff Passan trade alert notifications every hour. I mean, I look down to see Braves, no. Braves, no. Braves, no. Ozuna still on the team. No Braves.
The Braves did do a little bit of work before the trade deadline. They acquired right-handed pitcher Tyler Kinley from the Rockies in exchange for minor league right-hand pitcher Austin Smith.
We go.
That's great. Get a pitcher from maybe the only team in baseball that's worse than you.
Yeah.
Way to go, Atlanta.
Thanks, guys.
The Toronto Blue Jays acquired Shane Bieber in a trade.
Shane Beamer?
Bieber.
Oh, Bieber.
Bieber.
Gotcha.
Not Justin, not Beamer.
Gotcha.
Shane Bieber in a trade earlier today with the Guardians, betting that the former Cy Young winner could get back to form after his injury rehab. The first-place Blue Jays sent right-handed pitching prospect Carl Steven, a second-round draft pick from Mississippi State, to the Guardians in the trade. Speaking of those Braves, they lost yesterday in 10 innings. Was it a high-scoring game? No, it was not. 1-0. They lost to the Royals yesterday.
And by the way, trade deadline now officially ends in 10 minutes, so only 10 more minutes.
I read it'd be helpful if I could read clocks right. It's trade deadline is 6 o'clock, not 7 o'clock. That's on me.
Only 10 more to go.
10 more minutes. Come on, Alex Anthopoulos. Time to shine. Atlanta plays the Reds of Cincinnati tonight. 7:10 first pitch. Carlos Carrasco will be on the mound for the Braves. The College Sports Commission has loosened its blanket prohibition on athletes receiving payments from NIL collectives, according to a new memo that the enforcement agency sent out to athletic directors this morning. The new rules say athletes and collectives will have to prove that each deal they sign requires the athlete to promote a product or service that is being sold to make a profit, rather than just being a vehicle to channel money to athletes from boosters. So how about that?
Yeah.
They're actually going to have to prove that they are endorsing something.
Makes sense, right?
Hulk Hogan's cause of death has been confirmed as heart attack.
Oh.
Yeah. In case you missed it, this broke yesterday. Former NBA player Gilbert Arenas was arrested for allegedly running an illegal gambling business out of his mansion. He's facing charges that could result in a 5-year prison sentence. He pleaded not guilty and was released on bond. His trial is scheduled for late September.
I can't imagine being so rich that I have a mansion that I have to go up there inside my mansion and run a legal gambling operation.
Everybody wants to be a Bond villain, don't they?
God.
Shohei Ohtani is injured. He left his start yesterday, or last night, as a matter of fact, against the Cincinnati Reds after dealing with cramping in his lower half. Very nondescript injury. He threw 6 straight balls in the 4th inning, including 2 consecutive wild pitches. Coaches came out to consult with him on the mound, and he left the game. He left the mound. He did continue in the game as a designated hitter, where he didn't hit very well either. Atlanta Falcons head coach Raheem Morris revealed that first-round pick Jalen Walker has a minor hamstring injury, limiting his participation in practice. Despite Jalen's eagerness to return, the team is being cautious to prevent any further
Sounds
injury.
like a good idea, right?
Well, yeah. He has a good chance to be a good player for them, and the Panthers could have had him right there, but they chose not to. Thanks to 6 runs in the first 2 innings, the Hub City Spartanburgers smacked the Asheville Tourists last night. 9-1 was the final score.
Send them back to Asheville.
Glider Figueroa hit his 7th home run in the bottom of the first, and the Burgers plated 4 runs on 4 hits in the second. They were on fire early.
Now, that could turn into a real rivalry right there. I mean, you talk about two cities that are polar opposites, Spartanburg and Asheville. Like, there we go. Now we've got a rivalry formed. The drive, the Burger, yeah, I know there's a little bit of rivalry there, but man, you talking about polar opposite. That could be something.
You're already trying to get a second rivalry going for the Spartanburgers?
Yeah, screw the tourists, man. That's why nobody likes them. They're tourists.
South Carolina running back Oscar Attaway III is one of a record 116 nominees to the 2025 All-State Warfel Trophy Watch List, recognizing college football players from across the FBS division who exemplified community service, academic excellence, and athletic achievement. So you got to be a triple threat to get the Warfel.
That's big time.
Good for him. Good for Oscar.
Diesel, 3 more to go. 3 head coaches to round out Greenville County's high school football kickoff show. It's been going on for so long now. It went from sunshine to rain, dark clouds, back to sun. We continue the kickoff show next. Well, the Greenville County High School football kickoff show continues. Welcome into hour number 4 of Wire to Wire. He, across from me, is Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson. So good to be with you. We've talked to 13 head football coaches in Greenville County, and we have 3 to go. Quinn Hatfield, Bryce Smiley, and then rounding it up at 6:22, Chris Goodman of Travelers Rest. We now bring in Quinn Hatfield, as I just mentioned, the head football coach who's been there for several years now at Christ Church. Coach, how are you, man?
Hey, doing well, man. How you doing?
Doing fantastic. We appreciate you hopping on with us. Diesel and I are going to bounce some questions off of you as we talk a little Christ Church football. What excites you most, Coach, about this team and the opportunity in 2025?
I think the hunger. Last year didn't start particularly well, played really well mid-season and down the back end, and we didn't finish well. So there's been a little bit of a chip on these guys' shoulder. Hey, we're going to do better, and so that's been a lot of momentum in all season. They've been very consistent, working hard in the weight room, on the field. So I like the makeup of this group.
Coach, I know you're being a little hard on yourself. You were punching up in a big way with Riverside there in week 3 last year, but you acquitted yourselves well. What do you think the team found in that following week against Chapman, and then, looking forward past that, Carolina and Southside and Palmetto? Once you started rattling off those wins and putting up a lot of points, well, what was it that you said would say really clicked at that point of the season?
Well, we shored up a lot of missed tackles first couple of games, and we done some things in the all season we feel like will help us start better in that regard. But I think we played really good defense. Played really good against Riverside and just gave us some big plays. And then Jackson Rep got hurt when we were going in to tie the game early in the third quarter, and so that kind of had a compounding effect. But I think defensively we got a lot better, settled in, and then offensively we started running football better. You run the football, then you can do a lot of things.
Coach, when you look at this year's team and what the makeup is, you in 2022 and 2023 won the state championship, back-to-back state championships for Christ Church. So you've seen 2 recent state championship teams in 22 and 23. You now know what a state championship team looks like. Are there any signs? Is there anything on this year's team that kind of reminds you of one of those 2 teams?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I talk all the time about culture, man. Culture beats strategy. There's that old saying, what does it say? Culture eats strategy for breakfast and execution for lunch. You don't have culture, you ain't got anything. So, and not that we didn't have it last year, we did, and that's what helped us get the thing turned around. But I think the consistency of this group, what I feel like we can do a balanced attack, getting the ball in the air, running game up front. Defense, just kind of what we see. I think there's a lot of opportunities with this year's team, and we're excited about it, man.
Coach Quinn Hatfield, Christ Church School, joins us here on the Fan Upstate. You were hired back in 2020, Coach. It feels like that was a lifetime ago now, what we all went through with 2020 and COVID. What do you remember back of that season and the following season after that, once things finally started getting back to normal?
Yeah, I remember that summer vividly, that summer of 2020, and just, we were just so happy to be able to get together. I think it was the second week of June. We finally got the green light, and then it was like, hey, man, we're going to have a season, and the dates kept getting pushed back. Y'all remember all that. So I just remember kind of just staying in the moment, and the message of, hey, every day matters, every rep counts, and that kind of just has been kind of the mindset, right, even though it was back then, and even just trying to build the program and get guys believing, and that's what we talked about all summer. Every day matters. Every rep on the field counts. Every rep in the weight room matters, and let's take advantage of it and see what we can do.
Quinn Hatfield, head football coach at Christ Church, in his first 4 seasons. He won a state championship twice in those first 4 seasons, joining us right now on the Fan Upstate. Coach, for people who may be around the program this fall or may not be, who are some of the names that you expect to hear a lot of on Friday nights?
Well, I mean, you offensively, you talk about Jude Hall, who's receiver, and we'll do some different things with him. I mean, highly recruited. He's grown in terms of his maturity and his leadership, and even just his playmaking ability. Michael Martin, big time running back in the backfield, and so you'll hear those guys. I'm excited about our quarterback, Judd Wyndham. I mean, he started on defense for us last year, but dual threat type guy and big kid, big arm, and then defensively, Rhodey Barnett on the line, George Michael Satakis, Reed Hibb, Ant Atkins in the secondary, John Waldrop coming back at safety. So those are the guys. If you show up Christchurch and you hear that PA guy, you'll hear them guys getting called out.
Coach, you talked about how good that defense was last year. How much of that defense do you bring back, and how quickly do you think they can kind of get back into that form? Because we hear a lot of coaches say the defense a lot of time outpaces the offense.
Yeah, good gosh, I mean, we developed a lot over the summer. Some of these younger guys getting a lot of reps, but again, that's 7-on-7, and we'll scrimmage. But we bring back 6 guys to answer your question. And we lost some leading tacklers at linebacker, lost really good safety. So there's some guys there we like. They're just young in terms of game experience. So how quickly can they get up to speed and sort of accelerate that growth and make the impact that we're looking for? We like it. It's just we're waiting to see.
Coach, a week from tonight, you'll be scrimmaging on Thursday and then on Monday and then again on Friday. And then a week from that Friday, it'll be officially week 0. What positions on your team right now are still in flux in terms of these next 3 scrimmages really determining who could be starting for you guys?
Yeah, I think there's kind of 1 or 2 spots on that offensive line where we got some guys battling. At linebacker, I mentioned we've got 4 or 5 guys kind of rotating in there. Okay, is that a Will? Is that our Mike? Is that our Sam? What about this guy? Is he more of a safety? And then kind of on that back end too with the safety. And again, there's some guys defensive line wise rotating that give us some more depth. But those would be the spots where guys are still competing and seeing what our best 11 is going to look like.
Coach, talk about how the expectations have changed there at Christchurch. You win in 2 state titles. Obviously, that sort of ups things considerably, both from your administration, from the players themselves, their expectations for themselves, and from parents.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I mean, there's been a tradition here at Christchurch of winning, and we got there and we've won a couple of state championships. And last year was, call it what you want to call it. I mean, it's a transitional year. I mean, we ended up 6-5, went second round of the playoffs. Like I said, we didn't finish particularly well, but we learned a lot, right? Being in 3A for the first time, what that looks like, and what it's going to take to compete at that level. So feel like we learned some things. The guys believe, and we expect to make a run this year, man. We really do.
Coach, when you look at this season, it's approaching quickly. What is one thing that between now and the first game, week 0, you really have emphasized, you and the staff, that you want to see improvement on?
Yeah, I think execution. I mean, it's just this time of year, we kind of know who we're going to be offensively and defensively. We'll shore that up a little bit, but we execute in our blitzes like we want to. Can we play the coverages we want to play and execute consistently in these scrimmages offensively? The run game. Can we do what we want to do and that sort of thing, and what nuances? So I think it's just looking to tighten that execution up. Like I said, every day matters, and trying to get a little bit better each day and see what we can do and be really good at it.
Coach, can you expand on what you said just a minute ago about making that jump up to 3A and what it takes to win at that level? What was eye-opening about that step up?
Yeah, there's roster size differential. When you look at, how many we dress on a Friday night, we're going to dress 28, 29, and there's a no excuse mentality. But, there's a difference when guys are having to play more both ways. And I think what we try to do early on is say, okay, your primary offense, your primary defense, and we kind of start out like that. And we realize, that's not who we are. That's not how we build our program. We're going to put our best guys out there, and if that means you got to play 85 snaps a game, we'll play 85 snaps. Now, we got to get them in shape to do that, and we got to practice a little bit differently, and endurance looks a little bit differently. But I think those are all the things we're still learning, and we learned last year to try to apply this year.
How is administration helping out with that? Is there any plans that you know of to expand the school to kind of help you guys build out a bigger roster? Because that's tough for any school to have to do.
No, it is, man, and there's a lot of discussions internally that we've had about this move. I mean, you go back, man, we were placed in 4A, if you remember, and we appealed. We were like the lowest school in 4A, and we appealed to the league and dropped down to 3A. So I think this is going to be an interesting year, watching how we compete, not only from a football standpoint, right, across the board in all sports, but also what does the league do with the reclassification coming up in December. Not to say we're going to wait on that. I mean, we're having discussion. We're looking at some things, and we've got a big, master campus planned at, for the school. And this didn't have anything to do with us going to 3A. That's been in the works for a while. So that's a little bit about kind of where we are at Christ Church.
Coach, how do you feel about reclassifying every 2 years? I mean, I know you have, a lot of kids move in, and it's not like a presidential election where you can just do it every 4 years because of the amount of people moving into certain areas. But do you feel like 2 years is adequate?
Yeah, I think 2 years is fine. I mean, maybe 3 years would be a little better rhythm. I don't know. I'm still kind of new to all this, right? I'm going in my 6 years. I haven't been around being a high school football coach for the last 20 years like a lot of guys, so they probably have a little better insight. But, I think the multiplier is the big thing, and that was the first time ever we had done that. So whether you do it every 2 years or 3 years, now you apply a multiplier. And that thing has significant impact on different schools. I mean, it doesn't look like it's hurt the charter schools too much when you look at state championships and how they're competing, but it's hurt some other schools, man. And I'm not I'll just leave it at that, man. I'll just shut my mouth on that.
Coach, there's a famous line. I know I've heard Dabo say it: "Grow where your feet are planted." What's it like if a player comes to you and says, "Coach, I know we had a pretty good year last year, and I know I was pretty good here last year, but I think I might want to try my hand at a bigger school, at a bigger program." How do you navigate that situation?
Man, shoot, man, Cole, I'm glad you asked that question. I listen to them. I say, what are you looking for? I think, but the biggest question is, what are you looking for that we're not giving you here? Look at the guys we're putting in college right now at Christ Church. Look where we are. We're putting Big Ten. We got one in the SEC. Got guys getting recruited left and right. So is it from a recruiting standpoint, or you just want to play in the Friday Night Lights with 5,000 in the stands versus 1,000? I can't do anything about that. But what kind of culture are you looking for? Are you looking to get recruited? You want to play at the next level? How about academics, man? I mean, go look up Christ Church ranking in terms of being a student athlete. So those are the conversations we have. But there's a lot of that going on, man. And it's an instant gratification society, but try to get these guys thinking bigger picture. And again, I think the culture is a big part of that, where we haven't had a lot of that, man, to be honest with you. We really haven't, and I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Coach, we appreciate you as always, and best of luck this season. We'll talk to you real soon.
Appreciate y'all. Go Cavs, man. See you.
Quinn Hatfield, you heard him right here on the Fan Upstate. And Diesel, we continue the conversation. Before the show started today, you and I had to pre-record tape, as they used to say back in the day. Bryce Smiley, our next guest, he's in his first season at J.L. Mann High School. The Greenville County High School Kickoff Show continues. What a day it's been. Welcome into Wire to Wire. It's our number 4 of the program, and we are rolling strong, continuing to talk to coaches and preview the upcoming seasons. We're joined now by the head football coach in his first season at J.L. Mann High School, Bryce Smiley. Coach, I'm sure from the time you got hired to now, you have been able to kind of sit down and reflect on these first few months, but I'm sure at the same time there's still a lot you're trying to learn and get installed before the season kicks off here in a few weeks.
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind, but it's been a good whirlwind, and a lot of things that I had planned coming in have gone just like I planned. Some things have required some monitoring and adjusting, but I think that's part of the learning process, and having great kids with great parents and great coaches has just made it a lot easier, and then a great admin as well.
Coach, it's Diesel here, and I appreciate you taking the time. Can you go a little bit more into that? What's kind of gone to plan? I know you're not new to coaching, but you're new as a head coach. What's kind of fallen into place for you so far?
That I brought was one that obviously has been used before in successful programs. I have 2 separate strength programs. They both stem from different philosophies at the college level, and I was fortunate enough to work with 2 really good strength coaches at my last stop. So I've kind of taken bits and pieces. I mean, it really kept them both separate, obviously, but we've just kind of used some things, and that's gone really well. We've seen unbelievable results in our strength gains and also in our speed gains. So I'm excited about that. We had a great summer. Our goal was 90% of workouts, and we had 92% of our varsity made 90% or more of their workouts this summer. So that was an unbelievable achievement. When they I let the kids set the goal, and they set it at 90%. I was like, this is steep, but they met the goal, so that's been great. And just the hiring process was slower than I thought it would have been, but we finally got to where we wanted to be with that. And I tell you, the biggest hurdle for me, or biggest challenge or learning thing, has just been purchasing stuff and understanding, not necessarily managing a budget, but just the logistics of how to deal with a sales rep and make purchases and getting sizes. We don't have a 30-person staff that has a DFO and all this, so I'm kind of over the sizes of coaches and sizes of players and things like that. So that that part, it really was a little bit of adjustment. And then overall it's been really, really good.
Coach, you look at JL Man in the past 5-10 years. JL Man football has really done well and really brought themselves to the forefront when you look at Greenville County football. What did you see when you took the job that you feel like you can use to build those blocks and continue to further the program on?
Well, I saw kids that want to win. They've had a taste of winning, so they want to win. I see kids that want to buy in and they want to be coached, and they want to know that you care about them and you know what you're doing. So they're not just blind sheep that's going to willingly follow unless they really see that it holds merit and holds value. And I think from the day that I've got here, they saw somebody that, okay, this guy, he knows he's not just blowing smoke. What he's selling is legit. And I've been fortunate that, they've trusted me with that, and they know my background and where I come from and the winning that I expect and demand and will not waver from. So I think these kids want to take the next step. They, like you said, they've been close. They've been close the past 5 years. They've won 9 ball games, 10 ball games. They're shoulda. I say shoulda. I mean, they were in a game with Dutch Fork, I believe, to go to the state championship or something like that.
Yep.
So they've been there. I think they're hoping that I'm maybe that extra little oomph can get them there, and that's the plan. That's the plan. So.
Coach, maybe this is a hard question to answer, and you won't know until you're actually in the moment, but what do you think that Friday night after that first victory that you're able to tally as a head coach is going to be like for you?
Oh, I'm going to come back here to the school. I'm going to sit down and watch the game with the defensive staff, just like I always do. We're going to grade the film, and we're going to get ready for whoever we play next. Obviously, I'm going to meet my wife and my 2 girls on the sideline, but I do that after every game, win or loss. For me, it's I try not to get too high or too low. I know that the outcome is a lot of times much bigger than me, and I'm just thankful for the opportunity really to coach every Friday night, whether I'm a head coach, a defensive coordinator, an assistant coach. I just love Friday nights. I love watching all the work come to fruition. I love being a meticulous person out there and, demanding the little things and demanding excellence and the expectation just being so high. But, I tell you, man, you hear coaches talk about they don't really keep up with records and stuff like that. Like, I get it. Like, there's so much more that's on our minds. Like that first win, I'm sure there'll be a game ball involved and, and all that's great. But, now that the season's here, I'm thinking, 1 week at a time. The minute we finish one game, I'm going to turn my attention to my wife and 2 girls for 30 minutes, or so,
And then it's going to be right back in the film room that night, breaking down that night's game, grading it, and getting the trade ready so that the next day on Saturday I can start really diving into the next opponent.
Coach, what will JL Man look like offensively in 2025?
We are going to find a way to maximize what we have. I'm not sure if that's a tight end, H-back, or both at the same time team. I'm not sure if that's a single H-back or a single tight end most of the time. I'm not sure if that's a spread. We are. I know a lot of teams are probably past that evaluation phase, but I was just thinking a little bit ago while I was eating lunch with my family, like these scrimmages for us and in this jamboree, we're still evaluating. We got to find out what these kids can do in live competition against another team. So I'll know a lot more about, everybody asks you, Coach, y'all going to be any good? What y'all going to look like? I'll know a lot more in 2 weeks after we've scrimmaged Northwestern, Westside, and Bowling Springs.
Coach, a lot of players and coaches will tell us nameless, faceless opponents. You can't think about what the name of the jersey is on the front of that jersey that's playing against you, but have fans and family members come up to you and given you a good sense of what games they have circled on the schedule?
Oh, of course. I mean, being at JL Man, you better beat Greenville. I've heard a lot about TL Hanna, which I think there's a mental thing here. I'll just be honest. I don't mind saying it because I've told my kids. I've heard my kids talk about TL Hanna and, that mental thing that they have with them, which I don't have a mental thing with TL Hanna. I mean, so I'm trying to get that in their heads. And then, the Gaffney game, that comes up as much as anything with me being from Gaffney. And, I'm excited to go to the reservation. I am excited. I'm not looking past Midland Valley at all. I'm ready to play these scrimmages and jamborees. I'm ready to play Midland Valley. But, I can't help it, man. From being just a part of big-time football my whole life, Gaffney's as big as it gets in South Carolina, just like your Dutch Forks, your all those. I don't want to take anything away from the Burnses, the Dormans, the Spartanburgs, the Somervilles, and I'm sure there's somebody that I left out, Abbeville at the small level. Sure. But anyway, you get the point. I love big moments. So, I'm not going to look past any game to look to another because we're not even guaranteed tomorrow. But, obviously that Gaffney game is a big one. The Greenville game's a big one, Hillcrest. So,
well, Coach, we're excited as well. We appreciate you joining us today on our Greenville County High School football kickoff show, and best of luck this season.
Thank you, Cole. Thank you, Diesel.
Yes, sir. Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson doing our Greenville County High School kickoff. Man, just a marathon of coaches today. Next up on the docket, Travelers Rest head coach Chris Goodman in his second year at TR. Chris, what would you say you learned most about yourself as a coach and about your team and the fan base in year one last year at TR?
Well, the community's strong. It's a beautiful community. We actually just moved up here about 7 weeks ago, so now we're officially in it, literally right across the street from the high school. So being in Greer on the Spartanburg side, that part was difficult for the family and getting here. So that was a learning curve a little bit. So glad to be here this summer and been able to be here, been able to come to the school when you need to help out the guys and so forth versus when you leave town, you're gone. So that part's been a lot more helpful. And then being able to get the whole off season versus last year. We got here at May and trying to put together a summer staff. We've been able to get some guys in here and I'm pretty excited about.
Coach, look, everybody knows there are challenges in year one, right? And sometimes it feels like you're drinking out of a water spigot at times, I'm sure. You just mentioned some of those. When it comes to putting in a system, personnel, your challenges that you face with, developing a coaching staff and getting all that going, what would you say you learned most in terms of kind of playing off of Diesel's question of those challenges that you feel like were put to bed that will make you guys better in year two?
Trusting people and management, letting people do their thing, knowing that they have the expertise also, and letting them run their own piece of the pie. Up here in 4A, 5A, it takes the tribe, and we're getting to that versus where we were last year.
Coach, you start the season off this year in a familiar way, the way that you started off the season last year. You got your win against Wade Hampton to kick off that season. Any extra juice for this one because you got the best of them last year?
Yeah, no, I think Ruben and those boys pretty excited. Opened a home game there. Both of us need it pretty bad, just like last year. It will set either one of our seasons off, but we're both going in a couple of long losing streaks, and I can only imagine how hard they're working for it. And we'd like to get our season started off on the right way too.
Coach, when you talk about those losing streaks, obviously year one was a tough one for you guys, but what do you feel like some of those players on the team learned through some of those losses a season ago?
We just went through so many injuries. We put a lot of kids on the field, a lot of sophomores that usually wouldn't have been put in that situation, kind of had to rob the JV a little bit to put it in there. We had over double-digit season-ending injuries.
Oh, wow.
And that was including a quarterback and free safety. The quarterback's coming back, but we're too young, too immature physically to handle that. And so we focused more in the weight room. Obviously, we had the time to do it more. You could tell the difference. It felt a lot different in here. We got some guys back, lost some guys that'll be at other places and so forth, but the group that's still here seems pretty strong.
Coach, I'm glad you brought that up. How have you seen your players who are still on the team react to those teammates transferring out to other places?
I didn't see any reaction. That was what was kind of unique about it. We kind of expected it, but nobody said anything. And I'm not saying that because this is a radio show. Nobody said anything. And we just kept going. It was the next day, and we just kept working. And so what's left is a pretty tight group. We found that out on the last Thursday before we left, and we kind of opened the floor up to them and let them talk. And they've gotten pretty tight.
That's awesome.
So we'll see what they can transfer on to the field. It's still going to take a little while to build it. But I love their heart. I love where they're at right now as a team.
Coach, for those that don't know out there, Travelers Rest football, the identity offensively and defensively is what?
In the past, we were in a flex bone and a 4-3 look, multi-dimensional defensively, but we think we may need to spread it out a little bit this year, kind of use a little bit more of the athletes that we have, and it's easy for people to say the flex is this or that, and so when you're trying to build a program, we don't want to get lost in people thinking that our program or our offense can do this or that. So we're trying to be a little bit more versatile, brought in some new people, what they were comfortable with versus trying to force your staff into something that they maybe weren't as comfortable with, which I take blame for last year. Letting these guys kind of talk it out and literally build it from scratch on both sides of it. And it's been kind of fun to be a part of, but you kind of see what people bring to the table.
Talking to Chris Goodman, head football coach, second year at TR High School in our Greenville County High School Kickoff show. Who so far is kind of emerging, or who do you think might emerge as the glue guy on this team, or are you still looking for him?
No, we got a couple of guys. We don't have a ton of seniors, but the ones that are still here kind of got put into leadership roles that maybe they wouldn't have done on their own had other people been here. And Xavier Hagerman's one, starting to get attention from schools, a good size and good speed. We're probably having that middle linebacker. But then also Colby Epps, our quarterback. We lost him in week 3 last year to Palmetto, and we never got that going again from the quarterback spot. We actually had 6 guys snap the ball last year. That puts it in perspective.
Yeah.
So getting him back with a couple of sophomores fighting underneath him, we feel like those are our guys to lead the way.
Coach, when you talk about this new identity with the offense in 2025, how have you in practice and throughout the summer and spring seen the players adapt to what you guys are going to do this fall?
Well, it's tough on them if it's switching again, but it's seemed a little bit more simplistic and more enjoyable. And those two things made it easier to teach and to install. We're getting started this evening, so we'll see, if we continue to build off of that. But it was less confusion, less pondering, what are we talking about right now with last year? Flexbone's not easy. But this year they've been getting it. It's been faster and wanting to attack and be a part of it. Competing, that's probably the biggest thing because they're more confident in what they're doing, so they're competing more with it and less thinking. So that's been the most fun with it.
Coach, my last question here for you, and truthfully, there is no wrong answer whether you choose A or B. What's your favorite crepe up at Tandem? Is it the lumberjack or the sausage potato?
Well, it's funny because my wife and I, we've been to Tandem, but we always go with the coffee or their drinks and so forth. We haven't even ate there, but you got Tipsy Taco up here now, and the Whistle Stop and so forth. There's so many places up here. It takes a little while to go through them all.
It does. There's some good spots up there. Coach, my last question for you, we hear different coaches at different levels talk about this, but season 1 or year 1 for you and your staff at TR, when you go through difficult stretches, how do you as a head coach try to teach the players that, hey, even though we hadn't won in a few games, there are still valuable life lessons you can take away from these times?
I learned myself in going through my own first losing season. I felt like I was kind of going through it with them a little bit. It was quite humbling. But at the same time is putting others first. And that's been our big push is regardless of what we got going on, it's everybody around us and what impact we have on everybody around us. And that's been our biggest push. We've been having accountability partners or squads, and there's constant focus on accountability and just thinking about other people. And it to me, in this day and age, it's not as easy as it may have used to be, but seeing them try and seeing them to start caring or doing stuff together that they normally wouldn't have, we're going to get something out of it.
Coach, just 23 days and you're back on the field. Good luck to you this year. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Coach.
Hey, appreciate y'all. Thank y'all.
Chris Goodman, TR. Really good coach, really good guy, and some, to your point, Diesel, some really good restaurants up there in Traveler's Rest. Now you got me hungry.
We flip-flop. The wife and I, we usually get one of each, and then we split it down the middle because the question is, do you want your delicious crepe with eggs mixed in with sausage, or do you want it mixed in with bacon? And either way, it's fantastic.
See, y'all are just so bougie. That's what it is. us rednecks in Spartanburg, we don't know. I think there is one.
What's a crepe?
There's a crepe place on the east side of town in Spartanburg.
Yeah.
Shocker, I've never been.
It'll change your life. It really, really will.
You're surprised.
I'm telling you.
But I've never been.
It's like a thin pancake that's got filling in it and just folded over top of itself a bunch of times. It really will change your life.
Well, what are you, Tolo, saying? All right, let's get caught back up here on the chat, on the stream, where you can watch the show. 270 Tolos doing that right now. Dewey, DB, what are we talking about here? JD. So, Diesel Dewey says, I've been listening off and on how to make a beer run. That really surprises you, right? And then he also says, well, Cole, it looks like Ozuna's staying in Atlanta for now. Haven't heard whether they traded him or not. It looks like he's staying, Dewey.
Dan B is calling out Madcraft. He says, where's Madcraft been? Is he okay? Is he all right? He must be somewhere chewing on bark. I'm not sure. Trying to turn the Braves season around.
Well, once the Braves start winning, he'll come back, I think, if they ever
See,
do.
I told you so.
I told you so. Dewey says, I just as well. He offers decent offense at times. The pitching trades were too late for me. Dewey, can we get one phone call? Look, Tolos, the high school football conversation was hot and heavy. But until tomorrow, it's finished for now.
Well, tomorrow's when it gets real, Cole. It's when you get up there to a man's county.
Yeah, we'll get up there to Spartanburg County with the big dogs. Somebody's going to get mad at me for saying that, Diesel. You set me up on that one. Corn Chip on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line said, my buddy got traded to the Mets. I guess we can't be friends anymore. Like, you have a buddy that got traded. That's pretty cool if that's what you mean. But anyways, one last chance, Tolos. Phone lines are open. Dewey, you want to get your daily Dewey in at 844-326-3663. DB says Berg County, best county. That's right. That is the best. So one final chance, Tolos, for you to weigh in also on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line. Diesel, can you think off the top of your head of all the coaches we had on today, 16 coaches on the Greenville County High School football kickoff show?
Yeah.
If you had to pick, don't do that. I'll set you. That's not right to do that. I'm not.
It's okay. You can do
single out one.
I don't owe these coaches anything.
You don't. That's right. You can do it.
You do though.
Well, I mean, which one did you think you enjoyed the most?
Oh man, which one did I enjoy the most? Obviously,
or what stuck out to you?
It's always fun talking to a guy like Will Young, who's got just such a tremendous depth of knowledge and is an institution in Greer. Just like traffic there on Wade Hampton Boulevard. You know, he's been around that program and that team for a long, long time. Always good talking to him.
Yeah, no doubt.
Cole, I was interested to talk to Andre Cook at Malden because I got to drive past Malden every Friday night, and you know what? I want to be able to drive past it and at least just like roll down the window and hear that.
Yep.
I want to be able to hear that again because there wasn't a ton of it last year.
Yeah, that's a good point. Dewey wants to weigh in at 844-326-3663. Dewey, it's your time to shine. Better late than never, buddy. What's up?
Oh, yes. Y'all did a good job today talking to all the coaches.
Thanks,
you had
Dewey.
One coach that sounded just like Tom in Somerville, but he was a little bit calmer.
To about Bryce Smiley?
Yeah, he sounded just like Tom in Somerville. That might have been Tom.
Dewey,
don't know.
how far into that 6-pack, 12-pack of beer, whatever it was that you got, are you already?
I drank the whole thing already, but I bought like three 6-packs.
Wow.
Dewey's on a roll, man.
It's impressive, man.
Tomorrow's Friday, and tonight's that Hall of Fame preseason pretend game.
No,
so I might
Dewey.
watch that.
Dewey, don't talk about it like that. It's football,
If
man.
you call it pretend football again, it'll go away and won't come back for a couple of weeks.
Well, it is pretend, but it is football, and it's football, and it's better than baseball at this point. And that game that they're playing at Bristol, the Braves are playing. The Braves shouldn't be allowed to play in that. That's a travesty.
I agree with that. I do agree with Dewey on that, Diesel. By the way, Chargers-Lions, 1 hour and 10 minutes from right now. Detroit is now a 1.5-point favorite. This is important. Biggest game of the year because it's the first game of the year. Diesel, Dewey, who wins tonight? The Chargers or the Lions?
No.
I think the Lions win.
You know what? I think for the first time in my life, I agree with Dewey.
Go Lions tonight?
Go Lions.
Are we going Lions tonight?
Maybe Madcraft
Lions-
comes back tomorrow if the Chargers win, because he's a Chargers fan.
That's right. That's a good point.
He's still sad about the Braves, which I'm sad too. But at least we knew the truth. Madcraft, whatever his name is.
You just call him Madcrap?
Well, whatever his name is, it's a hard truth that the Braves are only going to win 65 games this year, and all those pitching trades that they made. It's too little, too late. That should have been done during the off season.
Yeah, I think I'm with you, Dewey. Appreciate you. What are you gonna eat tonight? What's your meal of choice during the Hall of Fame game?
I might have some of those mayonnaise wings.
Oh my God,
mayonnaise wings.
Thanks, Dewey.
I'm putting them in the oven and bake them.
One more. Get one more in there.
Oh.
Only Dewey, man.
God.
Only Dewey. You just had a great show, Diesel. We had the high school Greenville County kickoff show, and you ended with Dewey.
We're feeling good, and look what happens.
So we're going Lions tonight?
Oh yeah,
going Lions.
I like the Lions. I mean, I know they lost. Coaching staff, and so it's going to be a little bit different this year. But they got a lot of dudes on that team, and I think they'll be fine.
I just wonder when we actually start to see like names that we recognize. Like if we watch this game tonight, do we recognize the name? Maybe we do.
Do you recognize who that is on screen right there, Cole? Oh, you just missed it.
Was it Justin Bieber?
No, it wasn't Justin Bieber.
That's what it looked like.
It was Machine Gun Kelly, who used to be a rapper, then he turned rock star, then he turned into punk, then he turned into a boy band, and now he's doing this year's college football anthem. So we're all going to be very familiar with MGK by the end of the season, because you're going to see him constantly on ESPN. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm fine with it, I guess.
Yeah. Tolos will do it again tomorrow, and this time turn our view to Spartanburg County and high school football. Many coaches going to be on the show with us tomorrow. Be listening for when your coach of your favorite team is going to be on. It's Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson right here on the Fan Upstate.